Chapter 635. 635 The Strange Guhuashu. What's wrong? Since you've returned so quickly, why don't you take the opportunity to get closer to a beauty? Xian Yanqing mocked Lu Ming when he saw him. Why would I get close to other women? If I want to get close, I should get close to you. Lu Ming chuckled. Xian Yanqing's face reddened. Don't give me that. Who would want to be close to you? Tell me, did you have lustful thoughts about her and got chased out? Lu Ming was speechless. Was his character that bad? Seeing that Lu Ming did not say anything, Xian Yanqing smiled. Forget it, let's not talk about it anymore. It's more important to get down to business. Lu Ming took out Yun Haitang's storage ring and focused his mind on it. After a while, a token appeared. This is an inscribed token. You're taking action so quickly. Xian Yanqing said. Of course, if you don't do it now, I'm going to sacrifice my body. Let's take action now, Lu Ming mumbled. If we're too late and others find out that Yun Haitang is in trouble, we won't have a chance anymore. All right. Xian Yanqing was not one to hesitate and immediately nodded. Wait a moment. Lu Ming called out. Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming in confusion. I'll inscribe an inscription formation for you to conceal your aura first. Lu Ming continued to inscribe runes on Xian Yanqing's body. After a while, the inscription array that concealed his aura was completed. Lu Ming, I didn't expect your inscription technique to be so brilliant. Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming curiously. It's nothing, it's nothing. Let's go. In a flash, he went into the depths of the Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy with Xian Yanqing following behind. At the same time, in a secret room of the Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy, a deep roar like that of a beast was heard. A white-haired old man's heart was pierced through by Guhuashu. You. Who was it? Ancient flower void. Not this strong. The old man's eyes were filled with disbelief. He was a core elder of the Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution and a peak-tier king. Even if Guhuashu had sneaked an attack on him, he wouldn't have been able to pierce through his heart. The cultivation that Guhuashu had just revealed was extremely terrifying. Hee, you're about to die, why care so much? I only want your inscription plate. True Yuan exploded, and the old man's aura was extinguished. Guhuashu sneered and licked his lips. He took off the old man's storage ring. After a while, a token appeared in his hand. It was exactly the same as the one that Lu Ming and the others had gotten from Yun Haitang. Then, Guhuashu's body flashed and he also headed towards the treasure vault of the Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's cultivation levels were high. Their movements were as fast as lightning. Coupled with the inscription array that concealed their aura, no one could discover them. Soon, the two of them arrived at the depths of the Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy. There was a huge mountain. On the mountainside, there was a stone door. The stone door was tightly closed, and there was a large inscription formation engraved on all sides. If they didn't have the token, not to mention whether they could break in, if they tried to force their way in, it would alert the higher-ups of the Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution, including that Sea of Soul realm expert. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing rushed to the mountainside, took out the inscription token, and injected their vital essence. Buzz! The inscription token glowed and inscriptions appeared on it. Inscriptions also appeared on the stone door. These inscriptions formed a light shield in front of them. At this moment, the light barrier split into two, forming a door. The stone door opened automatically. Let's go. The two of them flashed and rushed in. The light shield closed automatically, and the stone door also closed. Behind the stone door, there was a wide passage. It was obviously man-made, and the surrounding walls were full of holes. The two of them followed the passageway and advanced quickly. The tunnel slanted downward, leading to the underground. The two of them ran forward carefully for a few minutes. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt his hair stand on end and a sense of danger erupted from the bottom of his heart. Be careful. Lu Ming suddenly pulled Xian Yanqing and retreated. Chi. Two sharp beams of qi shot into the place where the two had been, leaving two deep, thumb-sized holes in the ground. Die! A figure pounced at them with dark green claws aimed at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's vital points. The speed was unbelievable. Buzz! A long spear condensed in Lu Ming's hands. The spear's gleam pierced through the void and stabbed forward. Sky Devil Force Field. Xian Yanqing pressed his hand forward and a powerful force field burst out, enveloping the other party. Bang! Lu Ming's spear gleam collided with the other party. Lu Ming's figure swayed slightly, while the other party retreated rapidly. So strong. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. Under his and Xian Yanqing's combined attack, the other party was only pushed back and not injured. This showed the other party's combat power. Of course, it was also because the two of them were in a hurry and didn't use their full strength. Gu Huaxiu. At this moment, Lu Ming saw the person in front of him. He was shocked and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Beside him, Xian Yanqing was in the same state. The person who had ambushed them was actually Gu Huaxiu. Half a month ago, Gu Huaxiu was only at level 7 Martial King realm. In just half a month, he had improved to such a terrifying level. Hehe, your battle strength is beyond my expectations. Gu Huaxiu sneered and licked his lips. He stared at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing coldly. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing furrowed their brows. They did not expect to meet Gu Huaxiu here. You're also here to steal the treasures of the Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy, right? Lu Ming said. Hehe, not bad. I didn't expect you to come in here. Good, I'll take this opportunity to finish you off. Gu Huaxiu's body flickered and turned into a dozen phantoms, charging toward Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Each phantom looked real and exuded a powerful aura. Sky Poison Claw. Gu Huaxiu roared as a claw light shot out. More than a dozen figures attacked at the same time, their claws covering Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's vital points. Sky Devil Force Field. Sky Demon Cut. Xian Yanqing shouted as the Sky Demon Force Field exploded. It contained a terrifying cutting force. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming's long spear turned into more than 10 spear gleams and pierced through more than 10 phantoms. Bang! Bang! After a dozen or so deep explosions, Gu Huaxiu's dozen or so figures all collapsed and turned into one. He quickly retreated 100 meters away, and blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. In the battle between the three of them, all of their true qi was restrained. Otherwise, with their combat strength, if their qi spread in all directions, it would probably penetrate the mountain. I didn't expect that your battle strength would reach such a level. I'm afraid that even the sovereigns at the bottom of the list of top 1,000 talents are no match for either of you. Gu Huaxiu said with a serious expression. Chapter 636. 636 Ling Hai takes action. However, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were equally shocked. Gu Huaxiu had reached such a terrifying level in just half a month. His cultivation had already reached the peak tier king level, and his battle power was extremely strong. If it was a one-on-one battle, Lu Ming did not have the confidence to win. This guy's condition is too strange. Dandan's black eyes stared at Gu Huaxiu, her eyes spinning. Dandan, what did you see? Lu Ming asked. Dandan said that it had lived for a long time. Lu Ming now felt that it might be true. Perhaps Dandan could really see something. It's a little like possession, but the difficulty of possession is not small. It requires a series of coincidences, otherwise it's very difficult to succeed. Dandan muttered. Possession. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's expressions changed. There was disbelief in their eyes. They had also heard of the legend of possession. It was said that when a martial artist cultivated to the spiritual god realm and condensed a spiritual god, even if his physical body was destroyed, the spiritual god would not collapse for a while. He could even use his spiritual god to possess another body and be reborn. However, possession wasn't as easy as one would imagine. Once a spirit god left the body, it was extremely weak and wouldn't exist for long. The most important thing was that everyone's will was extremely strong, and it even inviolated the laws of life. Basically, it was impossible for a spirit god to possess someone else's body. If a spirit god wanted to possess someone else's body, they would often end up in a situation where they would be reduced to ashes. But in history, there were also successful cases of possession, but they were too few. Could it be that Gu Huaxiu's body had been possessed by a powerful being? At this moment, Gu Huaxiu's expression changed. I'll let you two off for now, but I'll take your lives in the future. Gu Huaxiu snorted and quickly retreated into the tunnel. Chase! The two of them quickly chased after him. The three of them, one in front and one at the back, moved forward and passed through the east and west bay. After a while, a huge underground cave appeared in front of them. Blood-red gemstones were embedded in the stone walls of the underground cave, scattering blood-red rays of light. In the middle of the underground cave, there was actually a medicinal field, growing more than a dozen kinds of spirit herbs. Blood infant fruit, dragon poison fruit, my senses were indeed correct. As soon as Gu Huaxiu arrived here, he revealed a look of ecstasy and charged towards the fruit trees. The heavenly demon fruit. Xian Yanqing immediately saw a fruit tree as tall as a man. It was pitch black and there was only one fruit on it. It was the size of a fist and had strange patterns on its surface. This was the heavenly demon fruit that Xian Yanqing needed. Xian Yanqing pounced toward the heavenly demon fruit. Buzz! Buzz! At this moment, the air trembled violently. The vibrations were so dense that it was as if there were countless bees flying around. However, the sound of the vibrations was thousands of times stronger than that of the bees. Whoosh! 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 Then, beetles flew out from the ground of these fruit trees like bullets, piercing through Gu Huaxiu and Xian Yanqing. His speed was shockingly fast. The vibrations were caused by the flapping of the beetle's wings. Be careful! Lu Ming exclaimed softly and rushed over quickly. Sky Devil Force Field. Xian Yanqing pressed his palm down, and the powerful Sky Demon Force Field enveloped the beetles. However, the speed of the beetles was only slightly affected, and they continued to rush towards Xian Yanqing. Sky Demon Cut. An extremely sharp cutting power burst out, and a wind blade-like cutting power cut toward the beetles. Buzz! Whoosh! The powerful cutting force cut the beetles, but it produced the sound of metal clashing and sparks flying. Only a few beetles were cut in half, and the rest were only sent flying. After a moment of delay, they charged again. On the other side, a short sword appeared in Gu Huaxiu's hand. He kept on slashing, but the result was the same. Only a few of the beetles were killed, and the rest were sent flying. Sacred beetle! Damn it! Why are there sacred beetles here? Gu Huaxiu roared. Buzz! The beetles flew up again, and there were no less than 1,000 of them. Lu Ming rushed forward and a huge spear's gleam condensed in his hand. He swept it out and dozens of scarabs were swept away like bullets. They crashed into the surrounding walls, blasting big holes in them. However, more scarabs pounced toward Lu Ming. This type of sacred beetle had a long, sharp thorn in its mouth. It was clearly not ordinary, and no one wanted to be pierced by it. Little Qing, pick the heavenly demon fruit and retreat. Lu Ming shouted. Juniors, none of you can leave today. All of you can stay. At this time, a bone-chilling voice rang out. Boom! In the sky above the cave, a vast and terrifying aura pressed down. This aura gave people the feeling that they were facing a vast ocean. Not good, it's a Sea of Soul Realm expert. Lu Ming's expression changed. It seemed that the Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy had already taken precautions and had been waiting for them here. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Lu Ming did not hesitate at all. He immediately used the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps and turned into a ray of light. In a flash, he dodged the large group of scarabs and rushed toward the sky demon fruit. Bang! Bang! Then, he swept his long spear and the group of scarabs in front of him were swept away. He then swept his quintessential essence forward and caught the sky demon fruit. He pulled it back and put it into Lu Ming's storage ring. The heavenly demon fruit is in my hands, let's go. Run! Lu Ming shouted as he flew towards the exit at top speed. At the same time, Xian Yanqing retreated quickly. Junior, stay here. An angry shout rang out, and 2 powerful forces pressed down on the 2 people's heads at an unbelievable speed. There were 2 rings of fire, and they exuded a shocking pressure. It's so hot. That's the 2nd level fire concept. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. 3 types of concepts erupted and a spear's gleam shot out, striking the ring of flames. With a loud boom, Lu Ming felt a boundless pressure surging toward him. His body trembled slightly and he could not help but retreat. On the other side, Xian Yanqing was in a similar situation. He took a few steps back. In the sky, a burly middle-aged man in a red robe stood in the air. His eyes were cold as lightning as he scanned the 3 of them. Did you kill my son, Yun Songsheng? Today, I'm going to bury all of you with me. The red-robed man's cold voice rang out. As soon as he finished speaking, he pressed his hands down and a total of 9 rings of fire shot towards Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Gu Huaxiu. At the same time, the sacred beetle began to shake and fly toward the 3 of them. Sky Devil Force Field. Destruction Cut. Xian Yanqing shouted as he pushed out his palms. A powerful force field covered a radius of 10 meters. Invisible cutting forces destroyed everything. This time, many of the sacred beetles were cut in half, leaving only 3 flame rings to charge through the force field. This is the destruction domain. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Xian Yanqing had actually comprehended the intent realm of destruction. At the same time, he had cultivated the intent realm of wind. A dark green light flashed in Gu Huaxiu's eyes. Even the short sword in his hand turned dark green. With a slash, a few rings were broken and the dark green sword light slashed towards the red-robed man. The red-robed man's eyes turned serious. He clenched his fists in the air and the rings of flames flew back. They turned into 2 rings that emitted a powerful aura and shot toward Lu Ming's spear radiance and dark green sword chi. Boom! Boom! 2 earth-shaking explosions were heard as violent chi spread out. 2 pillars of chi shot up into the sky from where the 3 were fighting. Boom! The stone wall above the cave was directly penetrated, and the whole mountain shook violently. Countless boulders came crashing down, but when they were still several dozen meters from the 4, they were shattered by the energy from their bodies. Charge out! Lu Ming called out to Xian Yanqing. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing turned into 2 streaks of light and rushed up. On the other side, Gu Huaxiu did the same. If you want to leave, then stay. The red-robed man let out an earth-shattering roar and turned into a sea of fire, blasting towards the 3 of them. Sky Devil Force Field. Xian Yanqing pressed his little hand and the Sky Demon Force Field acted on the red-robed man, blocking his figure for a moment. In this way, Lu Ming and the other 2 rushed out of the mountain peak. Stay here! The burly man in red robe bellowed. The next moment, the Sky Demon Force Field was shattered. He turned into a flame and broke through the sky in an instant. With a wave of his hand, dozens of rings of flame were blasted toward Lu Ming and the other 2. Lu Ming and the other 2 retaliated. With a loud bang, the the sky exploded like fireworks. As for the mountain peak below, it had completely collapsed. Detestable! Gu Huaxiu roared. The spirit herbs he wanted were still inside. What's going on? Something has happened in the forbidden area. Such a huge commotion naturally alarmed the entire Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy. Countless people were flying around in the sky. Buzz! Whoosh! More than 20 figures were flying toward Lu Ming and the rest. Forefather, what happened? Forefather, what's going on? These people asked one after another. These people have trespassed the forbidden area. All of you, attack and take them down. The red-robed man ordered. What? How dare you? You're looking for death. The 20-odd people shouted one after another. Their powerful auras exploded and surrounded Lu Ming and the other two. Every one of them was a late-stage king, and they were the strongest force in the Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy. Kill them. The red-robed man instructed. Kill. Kill. Over 20 late-stage king tiers attacked together. All sorts of techniques and lights were unleashed toward the three of them. Brat, die. As for the red-robed man, he waved his hand and everyone's attacks were directed towards Gu Huaxiu. He wanted to break them one by one. Just now, his attacks were too scattered. That was why Lu Ming and the rest managed to block them. Now, he was going to focus on one person. Gu Huaxiu was shocked, and he quickly retreated as a dark green sword chi burst out. Die! The red-robed man pressed down with his hand and a ring of fire spun rapidly, colliding with the sword chi. The sword chi only resisted for a breath before it collapsed. The ring did not stop and continued forward. Clang! Gu Huaxiu's body trembled as his short sword struck the ring, and he quickly retreated. No, I'm not his match alone. We have to work together. Gu Huaxiu charged at Lu Ming without a care. But the red-robed man stopped him. Chapter 638. 638 Wanting to slaughter the Spirit Sea. On the other side, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were also entangled. Alchemists were skilled in inscriptions, so they were naturally also skilled in joint attacks. More than 20 upper-tier king tiers joined forces and set up a combined attack formation, entangling Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming was very clear about the other party's intention. They would hold the two of them back first. The burly man in the red robe would kill Gu Huaxiu first and then kill them. They were broken one by one. If that was the case, they would be in danger. That red-robed man wasn't an ordinary person who had just broken through to the spiritual ocean tier, but had already reached the peak of the first level of the spiritual ocean tier. If they fought him alone, they would only be defeated. Charge out and join forces with Gu Huaxiu. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Xian Yanqing. Sky Demon Force Field, Destruction Cut. Xian Yanqing pressed his hands together, and the Sky Demon Force Field surrounded the 20 or so masters. The destructive power of the force field cut them up. If there were only a few late-stage king tiers, they would have definitely been minced into meat paste. However, with the combined forces of over 20 king tiers, their auras merged together, and their formation, they were actually able to withstand the attack. Devour. Lu Ming pressed his left palm down and a powerful devouring force erupted. It acted on the 20-odd phenomenal success kings and was about to devour their blood essence. Steady! One of the elders shouted. This elder had the strength of a peak-tier king. In fact, there were 8 peak-tier kings among the 20-odd people. Otherwise, they would not have been able to stop Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's joint attack. True Dragon Strike, break! Lu Ming thrust his long spear and a 3-colored true dragon flew out, crashing toward the 20-odd people. Block him, block him. In just a little while, the patriarch will be able to kill that person and come help us. An old man roared. They were also extremely shocked. Where did these young men come from? They were so strong that they did not seem to be martial king realm warriors. They were too terrifying. At this moment, countless people from all over the Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy were looking at the battle in the sky in shock. Whoosh! Just as Lu Ming executed the true dragon strike, a beam of sword light suddenly flashed from a mountain peak below. The sword light was extremely sharp, as if it had come from beyond the heavens. The target of the sword gleam was the same as Lu Ming. It was the experts from the Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution. Boom! The three-colored true dragon first clashed with the attacks of the people from the Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy. They had never expected that there would be another sword light. He wanted to defend, but he lacked the strength. The sword light slashed across, and 7 or 8 late-stage kings were cut in half. The formation was broken. As soon as the formation was broken, Xian Yanqing's sky demon force field exploded and blood splattered everywhere. A few more masters were killed. Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy is such a dirty and disgusting place. Today, I will destroy it. A figure stepped into the air and appeared in the sky. It was a young man, about 25 or 26 years old. He was wearing a white robe and was handsome and elegant. Come and help me. On the other side, Gu Huaxiu shouted. He couldn't hold on any longer. He was spitting out blood and couldn't hold on much longer. The two of you, I'll leave the rest to you. I'll go help him. The white-robed young man turned into a sword light and attacked the red-robed man. Yun Luo, you old fogey, today is the day you die. The white-robed youth's voice was filled with killing intent. Damn it, who are you? The red-robed man, Yun Luo, roared. Detian Divine Guard, Li Xiaoyun, I've been investigating what your Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy has done for a long time. You must be destroyed. The white-robed young man shouted coldly as endless sword chi burst out from his hand. It was extremely powerful. The white-robed youth's cultivation was also at the peak tier king tier, but his battle power wasn't any weaker than Gu Huaxiu, Xian Yanqing, and the others. Li Xiaoyun. He's ranked 943rd on the list of top 1,000 talents. Lu Ming's expression changed. Charge! Let's break out together. At that moment, an old man who was trapped in the sky demon power field was trying to break out of the encirclement. With the formation broken, their strength was greatly reduced. At this time, Xian Yanqing had killed a few of them. The remaining 10 or so people were struggling in the sky demon power field, but they couldn't get out at all. Now, I'll send you on your way. Lu Ming thrust his spear forward and hundreds of three-colored true dragons flew out, pouncing on the experts from the Cloud Sea Alchemy Division. At the same time, the devouring power of the 9 dragons' bloodline enveloped the other party through his left palm. This was equivalent to Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing working together. How could ordinary peak-tier kings withstand this? They were instantly killed. Swallow. Drops of blood essence flew into Lu Ming's left palm and were devoured by the 9 dragons' bloodline. Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming curiously. He did not know what Lu Ming's purpose of devouring blood essence was. Now, let's go kill that old man. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not explain. He couldn't explain the bloodline of the 9 dragons yet. As for the 20 or so storage rings, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing kept them all. All right. Xian Yanqing nodded. Meanwhile, the Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy was in an uproar. The most powerful elders of the Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution were all dead. They had all been killed. Those who knew Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were even more shocked. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's names aren't on the list of top 1,000 talents. How are they so strong? Peak-tier kings can't even fight back against them. The most terrifying one is Gu Huaxiu. He's also shockingly strong. He's still alive under the attack of the old ancestor. The great era is coming. I heard that in recent years, geniuses have emerged from all over the Eastern Barren territory. All kinds of supreme talents have emerged like bamboo shoots after the rain, and many of them are no weaker than the geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents. It's over. The Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution has been targeted by these monsters. It's most likely over. We'd better leave quickly. Some of the people who were studying alchemy here all retreated far away to avoid being implicated. Some disciples of the Cloud Sea Elixir Dispensary also retreated to some hidden places to watch. If the situation didn't look right, they would leave immediately. Meanwhile, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were already charging towards Yun Luo. Even with Gu Huaxiu and Li Xiaoyun working together, they were still not Yun Luo's match, but they could barely hold her off. Sky Devil Force Field. Before Xian Yanqing even arrived, the Sky Demon Force Field had already enveloped Yun Luo. True Dragon Strike. The dazzling spear radiance turned into a three-colored True Dragon and pounced toward Yun Luo. At the same time, Gu Huaxiu and Li Xiaoyun also launched their counterattacks. Boom! Boom! Yun Luo's body trembled violently as she retreated. Buzz! Buzz! Li Xiaoyun and Gu Huaxiu moved and blocked his way. The four of them surrounded Yun Luo. Hee, you're arrogant. Let's see how arrogant you can be now. Gu Huaxiu sneered. Yun Luo, I've investigated what your Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution has done. From today on, the Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution will be removed from the world. Li Xiaoyun's sword chi soared into the sky, and his voice was extremely cold. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing did not say a word, but their cold gazes explained everything. Countless people were shocked. The four geniuses were going to kill a powerful being from the Spirit Sea today. Furthermore, Yun Luo was a powerful being at the peak of the first level of the spiritual ocean realm. If she was killed, it would definitely be a big piece of news. It was extremely rare for a king to kill the spirit ocean. This was because the difference between a king and the spirit ocean was too great. Even if the four of them joined forces, it would still be extremely shocking. Chapter 639. 639 List of Top 1000 Talents, Li Xiaoyun. You think you can kill me? Yun Luo's aura was as turbulent as the ocean as she scanned her surroundings. But his heart was unusually heavy. The four people in front of him were all too powerful. Normal peak-tier kings would be instantly killed by them. If he was alone, he had the confidence to defeat and kill him. But with the four of them working together, he felt great pressure. Especially. He looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was only at the peak of the 9th level of the Martial King realm, but he was already so powerful. This made him tremble in fear. The battle of karmic luck is about to begin. All these freaks have been mobilized. Yun Luo felt a little bitter. Hee, while it's rare for a king to kill a Spirit Sea expert, there have been a few in history. Gu Huaxiu sneered and licked his lips. Kill. Lu Ming did not waste any words and attacked directly. He had devoured a large amount of blood essence, so he had to end the battle as soon as possible and refine the blood essence. The moment Lu Ming moved, the other three moved as well. Each of them unleashed their unique skills and charged towards Yun Luo. The sky instantly boiled over. The violent attacks caused the entire world to shake. Wisps of energy seeped out and fell to the ground. Boom! Boom! Each wisp of chi was like a bombshell. Mountains and rivers exploded, and palaces collapsed. The Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy was in shambles. Let's go, let's go! The disciples of the Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution screamed and ran. Some of them were too slow and were killed by the explosion. The 5 figures turned into 5 dazzling lights and engaged in a life-and-death battle in the sky. But at this time, Yun Luo was already completely at a disadvantage. A moment later, blood splattered in all directions as an arm was cut off. Yun Luo let out a beast-like roar, and suddenly, a blood-red light filled the air. Yun Luo turned into a blood-red light, rushed out of the encirclement, and quickly went far away. For little bastards, just you wait. I will definitely take revenge for my broken arm. His voice rumbled and reverberated between heaven and earth, but he had already gone far away. Yun Luo had escaped. What a pity, he escaped. Li Xiaoyun sighed. Lu Ming's expression was calm. The four of them did not have an overwhelming advantage over Yun Luo to begin with. It would not be that easy to kill her. It was already good enough that they were able to leave her with an arm and severely injure her vitality. Hee, if the other party doesn't die, he'll definitely take revenge. I won't be accompanying you. Gu Huaxiu sneered. He looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing before his figure flashed and disappeared into the horizon. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This guy was cautious. He left immediately after the battle was over. He was most likely afraid that Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing would find trouble with him. To be honest, Lu Ming would not mind getting rid of him if he had the chance. Gu Huaxiu gave Lu Ming a very dangerous feeling. May I know how I should address the two of you? Li Xiaoyun cupped his fists at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and smiled. Lu Ming. Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing answered. Lu Ming. Xian Yanqing. I've never heard of it before. It seems that we've really entered a golden era with countless geniuses. If the list of top 1,000 talents is rearranged, I doubt I'll be squeezed out of it. Li Xiaoyun said with a bitter smile. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing looked like they were in their 20s, but they had such cultivation and combat strength. He was shocked. Brother Li is too modest. I've heard of Brother Li's great name like thunder. Lu Ming was being polite. What are your plans next? Did you come here to go to the chaotic astral ocean as well? Li Xiaoyun asked curiously. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded. He had nothing to hide. The Battle of Kismet is approaching. Now, many geniuses have been mobilized. As far as I know, many geniuses have entered the chaotic astral ocean recently to train them slaviers. After I've settled the affairs of the Cloud Sea Alchemy Academy, I'm also planning to go to the chaotic astral ocean to adventure. Li Xiaoyun said with a smile. Oh. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed, the chaotic astral ocean is incomparably chaotic. It's an unreasonable place where people may attack you at any time. There's no lack of life and death battles there. Under such an environment, it was indeed possible for one to constantly improve and break through. Because if he didn't break through, he would most likely die. It was normal for many geniuses to enter it to train. Lu Ming could not help but look forward to it. Li Xiaoyun was ranked 943rd on the list of top 1,000 talents, which was dozens of places higher than the Saint Planet. His battle strength was much stronger than the Saint Planet's. Li Xiaoyun could easily defeat Saint Starlight. He was only a few dozen ranks higher and he was already so powerful. How powerful would those geniuses who were ranked higher be? Not to mention the geniuses who had reached the Sea of Souls realm, there must be many geniuses who were stronger than Li Xiaoyun in the Martial King realm. Lu Ming really wanted to meet them. Brother Li, we'll take our leave then. Lu Ming said. He was in a hurry to find a place to refine the blood essence. Alright, when we meet again, we must have a good drink. Li Xiaoyun said with a smile. Definitely. Lu Ming nodded and left with Xian Yanqing. Buzz. Buzz. After Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing left, two figures appeared beside Li Xiaoyun and bowed, Young Master. Send the news to the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace in the Yunfeng region and get someone to deal with this Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution. Using the Khanate blood qi to refine pills is an evil and crooked way. Li Xiaoyun said coldly. Yes. The two old men bowed. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing flew to the west. After flying for hundreds of thousands of miles, they landed in a mountain range. The two of them planned to cultivate in seclusion here for a while. Xian Yanqing wanted to use the heavenly demon fruit to cultivate the heavenly demon force field, while Lu Ming wanted to refine his blood essence. Dandan, help us guard the area. Lu Ming said. 10 level 5 spiritual herbs. Dandan demanded an exorbitant price. 2, or not a single one, Lu Ming threw him 2. Dandan was helpless and could only grab 2 spiritual herbs to guard at the side. Xian Yanqing sat cross-legged, took out the heavenly demon fruit, and began to cultivate. Lu Ming was sitting cross-legged 100 meters away. Boom! 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 In the bloodline of the 9 dragons, a huge amount of blood essence was being refined. This time, he had obtained the blood essence of over 20 late king tiers, including 8 peak tier king tiers. The blood essence was simply too rich. The 9 dragon bloodline had already accumulated to a certain level, reaching the limit of a 7th level king bloodline. This time, it broke through directly. 8 Esilavirer chakras flashed and disappeared. The 9 dragon bloodline had advanced to the 8th level king realm. Fortunately, Xian Yanqing was also in seclusion, otherwise, his jaw would have dropped. Bloodline of the 9 dragons, why does it sound so familiar? Sigh, I can't remember. Not far away, Dandan was mumbling while gnawing on spirit herbs. Let's see if I have enough supreme grade spirit crystals. If I have enough, I can break through to the peak tier king realm. More than 10 storage rings appeared in Lu Ming's hands. Lu Min and Xian Yanqing each took Tulavir storage rings from the 20 over kings from the Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution. Lu Ming's mind sank into it and he gathered all the top-grade spiritual crystals together. After a while, Lu Ming revealed a look of joy. Chapter 640. 640 Breaking through to peak tier king tier. As expected of the storage ring of a peak late-stage king, it was simply too rich. There were more than 80 million supreme spiritual crystals in the 12 storage rings. 80 million was really terrifying. Alchemy is really a huge profit. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. Moreover, the people in the Cloud Sea Alchemy Institution made use of the brutal method of the baby's innate blood qi to refine pills and make a profit. Naturally, they earned more supreme-grade spirit crystals. Normal peak-tier kings and late-stage kings weren't this rich. Lu Ming estimated that Yun Luo's storage ring definitely had more top-grade spiritual crystals. It was a pity that he had escaped. It's more than enough to break through to the peak-tier king level. Lu Ming looked at Xian Yanqing after he was done sorting out the best-grade spirit crystals. At this moment, an invisible force field emanated from Xian Yanqing's body, covering a radius of 100 meters. It trembled continuously and shrank. Xian Yanqing held the heavenly demon fruit in his hand. The fruit glowed and wisps of light were absorbed by Xian Yanqing. It seemed that Xian Yanqing's cultivation would not end anytime soon. With a single thought, Lu Ming's body disappeared and he entered the Supreme Shrine. The next breakthrough would cause a huge commotion. If they were outside, Xian Yanqing would most likely be alerted. Let's start. With a wave of his hand, a large pile of top-grade spiritual crystals appeared. There were a total of 1 million pieces. Bang! Bang! All 1 million supreme spiritual crystals exploded and turned into extremely rich spiritual qi. The 9 dragon bloodline emerged. After reaching the 8th level of the king level, the 9 dragon bloodline's body seemed to have become larger. Its body was winding, and its scales were dense. It was becoming more and more like the legendary true dragon. He opened his mouth and inhaled. A terrifying devouring power burst forth. The energy of 1 million pieces of top-grade spirit crystals was swarmed into the 9 dragons' bloodline. Lu Ming circulated the true war dragon technique and began cultivating. Breaking through to peak tier king tier required an abnormally large amount of energy, and he had to condense his chi vortex to the extreme in preparation for breaking through to the spirit sea realm. Therefore, he needed a lot of supreme spiritual crystals. The devouring and refining power of the 9 dragons' bloodline had increased several times. It did not take long for him to refine 1,000,000 pieces of top-grade spirit crystals. Lu Ming took out another 1,000,000. Just like that, 1,000,000 followed another. Endless energy was being accumulated. After Lu Ming had refined 18,000,000 pieces of top-grade spirit crystals, the chi cyclone in his dantian finally reached an extremely condensed stage. It was like a liquid that was spinning, like the eye of the sea. At this moment, a powerful aura rose from Lu Ming's body. He had broken through to a peak-tier king. Boom! 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 Circulating the true war dragon technique, his essential core surged and flowed. Lu Ming felt that the strength of his essential core was several times stronger than before. Naturally, Lu Ming's combat strength had also increased by a large margin. Lu Ming opened his eyes and revealed a satisfied smile. Peak-tier kings were considered to be standing at the peak of king tiers. The next step would be to open the Spirit Sea and step into the Spirit Sea realm. However, this step wasn't that easy. First of all, one had to comprehend the intent realm of heaven and earth to the second level. Without the second level intent realm of heaven and earth, trying to break through to the Sea of Soul realm would only lead to death. It has only been a day since I refined so many top-grade spirit crystals. Let's go and see how little Qing's cultivation is going. With a single thought, Lu Ming left the Supreme Shrine. Buzz! Whoosh! As soon as Lu Ming appeared, he felt a powerful force field surging and his body was under immense pressure. Lu Ming moved and retreated a few hundred meters before the pressure disappeared. The demonic fruit in Xian Yanqing's hand had disappeared. Her long hair was flying in the air, and a lotus flower was floating above her head. A beautiful woman was sitting cross-legged on the lotus flower. A powerful force field emanated from Xian Yanqing's body. It's not simple, it's not simple. Dandan circled around Xian Yanqing, her eyes darting around as she carefully sized up Xian Yanqing. 8 hours later, the force field around him suddenly shrunk and disappeared into Xian Yanqing's body. At this time, Xian Yanqing opened his eyes. Little Qing, how is it? Did you break through the sky demon power field? Lu Ming walked over and smiled. Of course I did. How was it? You want to test its power? Xian Yanqing's lips curved into a sly smile. He stared at Lu Ming with ill intentions. You think you can defeat me just because you've broken through? Then you'll be disappointed again. Lu Ming smiled confidently. Oh, really? Then I'll have to try. Xian Yanqing smiled. As soon as she finished speaking, she pressed her palms forward. Buzz! An extremely powerful force field burst forth and enveloped Lu Ming in an instant. It was as if a majestic mountain was pressing down on him. So strong. He's several times stronger than before. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. Boom! In the next moment, a powerful aura burst out from Lu Ming's body. He circulated his essential core and gathered 3 types of heaven and earth intent realms, opening up the power of the demonic power field. You've made a breakthrough in your cultivation. Xian Yanqing exclaimed in surprise. Of course. You've already broken through, so how can I not? Lu Ming chuckled. Just in time, destruction cut. Cut! Xian Yanqing shouted and pressed his palms together. A terrifying cutting force burst out from the sky demon power field. This cutting force was formed by the will of destruction and the sky demon power field. It was so sharp that even a 5th-level spiritual weapon would be cut apart. In Lu Ming's hands, a long spear was condensed from vital essence. With the tip of the spear as the center, the long spear spun rapidly like a drill bit and drilled in Xian Yanqing's direction. Bang! Bang! With a loud boom, the domain in front of him was broken. Lu Ming stepped forward and dodged Xian Yanqing's attack. If he wanted to defeat Xian Yanqing, the first thing he had to do was to rush out of the domain and attack Xian Yanqing. Little Qing, I'm going to reward you after I take you down. Lu Ming's gaze swept across Xian Yanqing's body. You want to take me down? Dream on. Xian Yanqing shouted as her blood meridian burst out. Her delicate hand pressed down again. A beautiful arm formed out of thin air and slapped at Lu Ming. The terrifying palm force swept toward Lu Ming like a stormy sea. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He did not dare to be careless. He thrust his spear forward and a huge three-colored true dragon pounced out, colliding with the beautiful palm. Boom! The ground trembled terrifyingly, and the terrain rose and fell. Violent energy swept in all directions. Lu Ming's body trembled slightly and he took 3 steps back. Xian Yanqing also took 3 steps back. They were equally matched. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Just as he was about to activate his blood meridian to fight Xian Yanqing retracted his demonic force field and said, No more fighting, no more fighting, today is considered a draw. You're not fighting. Lu Ming was somewhat speechless. Other things aside, Xian Yanqing was a good opponent. Lu Ming was about to activate his blood meridian and fight with all his might, but Xian Yanqing stopped. Humph, you're a man, yet you're fighting with a little girl. And you're so serious. How petty. Who wants to fight with you? Xian Yanqing's lips curled into a smile as he looked at Lu Ming in disdain. Chapter 641. 641 Chapter 641 Chaotic Stars City. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. All right, Xian Yanqing was the one who said that they wanted to have a competition. In the end, it was Lu Ming who was in the wrong. What could Lu Ming say? He could only tell himself in his heart that he should never try to reason with a woman, because his reasoning might not be her reasoning. With a smile, Xian Yanqing's figure flashed. He grabbed Dandan and placed her on her shoulder. Then, he rose into the air and flew to the west. Lu Ming stepped on the air and chased after him. The distance from here to the chaotic astral ocean was not close. It was almost as far as half of the Yunfeng region. Even with their speed, it would still take them nearly 10 days to fly. Little Qing, you're cultivating the destruction and wind concepts, right? Lu Ming asked on the way. That's right. The intent of destruction is something I comprehended from my bloodline. Xian Yanqing said. Those 2 concepts don't seem to have fused together. Do you think it's that easy to merge 2 intents together? Xian Yanqing rolled his eyes at Lu Ming. Then, he thought of something and said, unlike you, you're so perverted. I can teach you some experience in the fusion of wills. How about it? Do you want to learn? Lu Ming said with a smile. Xian Yanqing's eyes brightened. Indeed, Lu Ming had successfully fused 3 concepts. If she had Lu Ming's experience, she might really be able to fuse 2 concepts together. If she could really merge the destruction and wind concepts, her sky demon power field would be raised to a terrifying level. You're not that kind to teach me? Xian Yanqing asked. Of course I'm not that kind. I have conditions. Come, give me a kiss, and I'll tell you the method of fusion. Lu Ming said with a smile. Kiss you? Xian Yanqing's face was as red as a ripe apple. He glared at Lu Ming and said, I knew it, you pervert, you wish. After saying that, he even gritted his teeth. If that's the case, then forget it. I can't do anything about it. Who asked me to be a pervert? Lu Ming heaved a long sigh. You. Xian Yanqing gritted her teeth. The look in her eyes kept changing. Then, she stared at Lu Ming with her eyes wide open. Her face turned redder and redder. In the end, she actually closed her eyes slowly and raised her mouth to kiss Lu Ming on the face. Lu Ming's figure flashed and he retreated a few meters away. He smiled and said, Little Qing, what are you doing? It was just a joke, did you really take it seriously? Ha ha ha. Lu Ming. A shrill scream came from Xian Yanqing's mouth. Xian Yanqing blushed and glared at Lu Ming. He gritted his teeth and wanted to bite Lu Ming. In the end, she bared her teeth and pounced on Lu Ming, ready to bite him. Lu Ming dodged it and flew forward, shouting, "Nest, the tigress bit me." "Stop." "No. I won't stop." The two of them, one chasing and one escaping, disappeared into the horizon. Time passed day by day. Along the way, Lu Ming would occasionally tease Xian Yanqing. He was in an extremely good mood. Of course, he wasn't going to be stingy. He shared some of his experience with Xian Yanqing. On top of that, he also gave Xian Yanqing a bunch of destruction intent crystals. The destruction ultimacy crystal was one of the many ultimacy crystals that Lu Ming had obtained in the heaven realm. When Xian Yanqing saw Lu Ming take out a large pile of destruction ultimacy crystals, there were even quite a few middle-grade ultimacy crystals. He could not help but be dumbfounded. Of course, she kept it without any hesitation. Then, she took out a martial arts secret manual and passed it to Lu Ming. The exploding star fist, a superior heaven-level martial arts technique, could burst out a terrifying power when combined with the concept of fire, like the explosion of stars. Lu Ming was overjoyed. His current attack methods were indeed a little monotonous. With this book on the exploding star fist, he would have more attack methods. He had obtained some martial arts secret manuals from others before. However, they were either heaven-level low-rank martial arts manuals which Lu Ming did not care about at all. Most of them had to be cultivated together with the weapon and were not suitable for Lu Ming. Lu Ming was just the right person for this martial arts technique. The two of them were not in a hurry to travel. They cultivated as they traveled. If he had any comprehension, he would stop and cultivate. Lu Ming's understanding of the exploding star fist was also improving rapidly. What was originally a 10-day journey took the two of them more than 20 days to arrive. The chaotic stars city was located on the shore of the chaotic astral ocean. It could be considered the common border between the Yunfeng area and the chaotic astral ocean. The chaotic stars city could be said to be the most prosperous city in the Cloud Peak region. Everyone who wants to enter the chaotic astral ocean from the direction of the Cloud Peak area has to go through the chaotic star city. There were countless merchant associations and caravans gathered here. The chaotic astral ocean can be said to be the largest inland ocean in the East continent. Its surface area is even larger than many large domains. There are many precious materials and strange treasures inside that cannot be found in the outside world. Therefore, there are countless chambers of commerce that take the risk to enter the chaotic astral ocean, search for the materials and treasures unique to the chaotic astral ocean, and sell them in other big regions. They can obtain rich profits. And these chambers of commerce all had to set off from Chaotic Stars City. It's really lively. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing walked to the streets of the Chaotic Stars City. They could not help but sigh as they looked at the people coming and going on the streets. There were shops on both sides of the street. There were all kinds of wonderful materials and items from the sea. Lu Ming had never seen them before and it was an eye-opener for him. After walking around for a while, the two of them headed towards the harbor outside the city. The so-called port in Chaotic Stars City was not a place for ships to dock, but a place for flying demonic beasts to dock. This is because there are a lot of aquatic demonic beasts living in the chaotic astral ocean. These aquatic demonic beasts possess unparalleled strength in the ocean. They are capable of summoning clouds and rain and are incomparably powerful. If a ship sailed on the sea, it would definitely be destroyed by the sea demon beasts. Therefore, the majority of the people who enter the chaotic astral ocean ride on flying demonic beasts. Of course, riding on a flying demonic beast is not completely without danger. In the chaotic astral ocean, the weather is constantly changing, so you might encounter a storm or a thunderstorm at any time. The storm and lightning rain were not ordinary ones. Some of them were so terrifying that even kings would die inside. In addition, the greatest danger in the chaotic astral ocean is pirates. Pirates are everywhere and rob passers-by. The only outcome for those who were robbed was death. Therefore, any martial artist who wants to enter the chaotic astral ocean will enter in groups. The most common way is to follow some caravans. The caravans had powerful forces and would hire some guards with high cultivation. Therefore, as long as he gave them some spirit crystals, they would agree to go with him. The benefits were mutual. One side could get the protection of the caravan's military force, while the other side would have more people in the caravan, which would be more powerful. They were using each other. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing also wanted to find a caravan to go with them. It's not that they're afraid of the pirates of the chaotic astral ocean, but because the ocean is too big. If they don't have someone to lead the way, it's very easy for them to get lost. They plan to first follow the caravan into the chaotic astral ocean. Then, they would train while waiting for other people with the key to the martial emperor's treasure to appear. Chapter 642. 642 Demonic Beasts in the Sea. The chaotic Stars City's port was bustling with activity, and many massive flying demonic beasts were parked there. There were chaotic wind eagles, gale eagles, four-winged flying tigers, and many more. There were all kinds of flying demonic beasts. These demonic beasts all had one thing in common, which was that they had extremely good endurance and huge bodies. Each demonic beast could carry at least a few dozen people. These demonic beasts did not all stand together. Instead, they were clearly divided into different forces. The Luyuan Chamber of Commerce is going to Fengyuan Island. Each person only needs 10,000 high-quality spiritual crystals. The Flame Chamber of Commerce is going to the Golden Sand Island. Let's go together. 12,000 supreme spiritual crystals per person. The Huge Wave Chamber of Commerce has called for guards to go to Sea Lion Island. The price will be set according to the cultivation. Let's discuss it face to face. When the two of them arrived at the port, they heard shouts. Which island are we going to first? Xian Yanqing asked. I can do anything. Let's choose a bigger island. Lu Ming said. The map displayed on the keys of the Martial Emperor's treasure only points to the chaotic astral ocean, but it doesn't point to its specific location. The two of them speculate that it will only point to its specific location when all 9 keys are born. Therefore, they don't have a specific target now, so they can only choose a random place. Then let's go to Golden Sand Island. Golden Sand Island is a big island with many warriors gathered there. Xian Yanqing said. All right. Lu Ming nodded and the two of them walked in the direction of the Flame Chamber of Commerce. You too, are you going to Golden Sand Island? A middle-aged man with a goatee asked with a smile. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded. To Golden Sand Island, 12,000 best-grade spiritual crystals per person. Our young lady is there, so you can register and pay the fee there. The goateed middle-aged man pointed. The two of them looked over and saw a young woman, surrounded by a group of people, standing under a huge four-winged flying tiger. All right, thank you. Lu Ming cupped his fists and walked over with Xian Yanqing. Are you two going to Golden Sand Island? The lady looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing with a faint smile. The woman was in her 20s. She was wearing a light yellow long dress, which made her look pretty and lovely. This was the young lady that the man with the goatee had mentioned. Yes, this is the fee for the two of us. Lu Ming took out 24,000 pieces of top-grade spiritual crystals and handed them to the young lady. The woman kept it and smiled. My name is Luo Xan. How should I address the two of you? Lu Ming. Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing also reported their names. Young Master Lu, Lady Xia, the journey to Golden Sand Island will take half a month. You can choose a four-winged flying tiger first. We will set off in 2 hours. Luo Xan said with a smile. All right. Lu Ming nodded. Then, he and Xian Yanqing chose a four-winged flying tiger. The four-winged flying tiger was 20 meters tall and had a wide back. It lay there, and a few people were already sitting cross-legged on its back. The two of them landed on the four-winged flying tiger's back and sat cross-legged, waiting quietly. As soon as Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing left, a young man with a cold expression beside Luo Xian said, "Two more useless people. This time, there are no experts on the way to Golden Sand Island. What bad luck. Chen Zhao, this is very normal. It's not every time that there are powerhouses setting off together. As a caravan, we have to rely more on our slaviers." Luo Xian said. Of course I know that. However, if we have a strong person with us, we can save a lot of people if we run into danger. Chen Zhao said. The others nodded in agreement. The reason why their caravan brought people along was firstly to earn some fees, and secondly, they had the intention of borrowing strength. If they encountered danger on the road, these people who were traveling together would also help. If there were a few experts together, it would be a great deal, and the safety factor would increase greatly. As they were chatting, someone else came over. Time flew by, and 2 hours passed. The people of the Flame Trade Caravan, as well as the guards, all landed on the back of the four-winged flying tiger. Let's go! Luo Xian shouted. The four-winged flying tiger let out a loud roar and immediately soared into the sky, flying towards the chaotic astral ocean. Lu Ming took a quick glance. There were a total of 64 winged flying tigers and each of them had about 20 people on them. In total, there were more than 1,000 people. Most of them were from the Flame Chamber of Commerce. 1 to 200 of them, like Lu Ming and the rest, had followed the team to the Golden Sand Island. There was nothing else on the four-winged flying tiger's back except for people. People would not have goods, and warriors were naturally different from ordinary merchant caravans. Mortal caravans usually carried a large amount of goods with them, but the goods of martial artists were all stored in storage rings. The four-winged flying tiger roared as it moved. It had 4 huge wings that were more than 50 meters wide. When it flapped its wings, a strong wind blew, and it was extremely fast. 60 huge four-winged flying tigers flew thousands of meters in the air and formed a certain formation. On the four-winged flying tiger at the front stood a white-robed elder who was looking into the distance. This old man was the guide of the caravan. Not only could he tell the direction, but he could also avoid thunderstorms and storms. He could be seen from far away and had never taken a detour to avoid them. This was something that every caravan would have, and it was also called an Feng Xiang Master. An Feng Shui Master was the most valuable asset of a caravan. They could help a caravan avoid many dangers. The salty sea breeze blew and Lu Ming felt refreshed. This is the real ocean. Lu Ming stood on the back of the four-winged flying tiger and looked into the distance. The blue ocean was boundless, as if it was connected to the sky. The surface of the sea was very calm. It was completely different from the sea that Lu Ming had seen in the heaven realm. After a while, Lu Ming sat cross-legged. The journey to Golden Sand Island would take half a month, and he could use this time to cultivate. His mind sank into his sea of consciousness and he sat cross-legged under the lightning cauldron to comprehend the lightning concept. A few hours later, Lu Ming ended his comprehension of the thunder concept. He began to deduce the exploding star fist in his mind. Time flew by and 3 days passed. Walala! The sound of waves crashing could be heard from below. At the same time, chirping sounds could be heard. Lu Ming looked down and was slightly shocked. On the surface of the sea below, there were huge black fish. Lu Ming estimated that each of them was no more than 100 meters long. There were more than 100 of them in total. They were rolling in the sea and letting out sharp cries. Here in the deep sea, all kinds of sea demonic beasts gradually appeared. Voila! Suddenly, a large part of the water sank down, revealing rows of sharp teeth. A black fish was caught off guard and was directly bitten in two by the sharp teeth. A huge shark jumped out of the water, its aura monstrous. What a big shark! Lu Ming estimated that the shark was at least 1,000 meters long. It was huge and looked like a small island in the ocean. The shark opened its mouth wide and swallowed the big fish. Then, it rushed to the other big fish. The other big fish naturally scattered and fled in all directions. Chapter 643. 643 Chapter 643 Snobbish. The ocean was instantly dyed red with blood as the giant sharks chased after it. At this moment, two huge furry hands reached out from the ocean. They were almost 100 meters wide. They grabbed the shark's mouth and broke it. The shark's mouth was split in half. Even its body was almost torn apart. Blood gushed out. A gargantuan ape emerged from the ocean. It opened its mouth, which was filled with teeth, and bit the shark, tearing off a large piece of shark meat. This is a water ape. It's so powerful. It's at least equivalent to a peak-tier king. Not good, it's targeting us. Someone exclaimed. At that moment, the water ape's huge eyes looked up at the sky, filled with a brutal aura. Fortunately, it only took a few glances before it grabbed the shark's corpse and slowly sank into the sea, disappearing. The demonic beasts in the ocean are really powerful. Lu Ming secretly sighed. The most amazing thing was that the monstrous beasts in the sea were too huge. They were often hundreds of meters long or thousands of meters long. On land, there were very few such huge bodies, unless they were some powerful monstrous beasts that had inherited the bloodline of divine beasts. In the ocean, the law of the jungle was displayed even more vividly. Lu Ming continued to fly. Along the way, he saw more huge and powerful sea beasts. One time, they encountered a sea beast that looked like a flood dragon. It was 2,000 meters long, and its aura was boundless. It was definitely a sea beast equivalent to the spiritual ocean tier. Fortunately, they had avoided it from a distance, or else the consequences would have been unpredictable. No wonder it's said that ships can't move forward in the chaotic astral ocean. If a ship is on the ocean, it will definitely be torn to pieces by these huge sea beasts. 5 days later. There's a thunderstorm ahead. Turn right and move forward. Feng Fengshe shouted as he rode on the first four-winged flying tiger. The people of the flame caravan immediately changed direction and flew to the right. In the blink of an eye, it had been 7 days since they set out to sea. Lu Ming focused on comprehending the concept of thunder and the exploding star fist. He spent the rest of his time cultivating his mental energy fire. In addition, Lu Ming had already cultivated the explosive star fist to the 2nd level during the journey. Its power was already considered not bad. After all, he lacked practice and it was not good to take out the path understanding ancient tree to cultivate. The cultivation speed was naturally not fast. Buzz. Whoosh. On the evening of the 8th day, a series of buzzing sounds suddenly rang out in front of him as the sound approached at an extremely fast speed. Not good, it's swordfish, a school of swordfish. A loud roar reverberated through all the four-winged flying tigers. Get ready for battle. As soon as he finished speaking, a dazzling attack had already erupted in front of him. Lu Ming's four-winged flying tiger was at the back of the formation and was not attacked. He looked forward. The sky in front of him was densely packed. They were a type of fish with wings. They were about half a meter long and had sharp mouths like arrows. Whoosh! Whoosh! These fish were known as swordfish. They flapped their wings, and their bodies shot out like arrows, piercing through the air and making tearing sounds. Most of these fish were only at the martial arts grandmaster level, but there were too many of them. A small number of them had reached the level of a martial king. Boom! Boom! Colorful attacks flashed out, and large numbers of flying arrowfish were killed, falling into the sea like raindrops. Everyone, attack! Quickly kill this school of flying swordfish and leave this place. Chen Zhao roared as he hovered in the air. With a single palm strike, thousands of flying arrowfish were killed, showing the strength of a Lever 7 Martial King realm. Lu Ming shook his head and did not make a move. Although there were many flying swordfish, their combat strength was not strong. They could not cause much harm to the caravan and did not need his help. On the side, Xian Yanqing had no intention of making a move. He continued to sit cross-legged. As expected, it didn't take long for the school of swordfish to be almost all killed. The caravan successfully charged out and continued to fly forward. Buzz! Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of Lu Ming and the rest. It was Chen Zhao. At that moment, Chen Zhao's face looked even colder. He stared at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and said, "Why didn't the two of you make a move just now?" His tone was very unfriendly, and he questioned her in a commanding tone. Lu Ming frowned. He did not like it when others spoke to him in such a tone. Therefore, he naturally did not look happy. He said indifferently, "Just a few flying swordfish, we don't need to do anything. When we're needed, we'll naturally attack." "Ha, I don't need you to do anything. What a joke, do you think you're peerless experts? It's ridiculous, I think you guys don't even dare to attack, afraid of death." Chen Zhao laughed and revealed a mocking expression. Xian Yanqing's eyes flashed coldly. Lu Ming frowned and said coldly, "It's none of your business whether we're experts or not. Besides, we've paid the spiritual crystals for this trip. I've never heard of any rule that states that we must take action." "You?" Chen Zhao's expression froze. Indeed, there wasn't a rule that stated that people had to pay spiritual crystals and go with the caravan. In fact, people like Lu Ming and the rest did not need to do anything. It was just that many people would help when they encountered danger. It was also to prevent the caravan from getting into trouble and to rush to the destination as soon as possible. Chen Zhao. That's enough. At this moment, Luo Xian flew over and chided them. She then smiled at Lu Ming and the other man. "Young Master Lu, Miss Xia, Chen Zhao has a short temper. I hope you don't mind." Xian Yanqing snorted coldly. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not say anything. "If you're weak and afraid of death, just say it." Chen Zhao said coldly and left, flying forward. "Young Master Lu, Miss Xia, I'm sorry." Luo Xian smiled apologetically and left. "You're looking down on me." Xian Yanqing pouted. Lu Ming smiled faintly and touched his nose. It wasn't that they didn't want to help, but that he had already seen that the swordfish basically didn't pose a threat to the caravan. It didn't matter whether they helped or not, so they didn't help. If the caravan were to encounter a crisis that they couldn't handle, they naturally wouldn't sit by and do nothing. A small disturbance passed just like that, and the caravan continued to move forward. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days passed. On the evening of the 10th day, a small island appeared in front of them. "Ahead is island. Let's go down and rest for the night. We'll set off tomorrow." Luo Xian's voice was heard. The four-winged flying tiger had been flying for 10 days. No matter how strong it was still tired and needed to rest. It couldn't keep on flying. The four-winged flying tiger roared and flew toward the island below. This island was not big, with a radius of about 1,000 miles. It was originally a place for some caravans to rest. They landed on a huge square on the island. "Manager Yen, the Flame Chamber of Commerce is here. Please prepare some good food for us." A burly man flew down from the flame caravan and shouted. Huge stone houses were built on the side of the square. In the past, the caravans that passed by would rest here and eat something. However, no one responded after the burly man called out. Chapter 644. 644 The Blood Fiend Pirates. What happened today? In the past, Manager Yen would come out to welcome us attentively before we even landed. Why is there no one here today? Chen Xiao said with a frown. Luo Xan also frowned and her face suddenly changed. Not good, there's a problem. Let's leave quickly. Go, quickly go. Clearly, some of the more experienced people had also thought of something and called out. Ha ha ha, it's too late to leave now. You can all stay. A sneer was heard. Then, the sound of the air being torn could be heard. Figures appeared from all directions of the square. There were more than 1,000 people, standing in the air and surrounding the flame caravan. Pirates, it's pirates! Someone exclaimed. The faces of Luo Xian and the others also darkened. In the chaotic astral ocean, pirates are the most terrifying. The chaotic astral ocean was originally a gathering place for some fiends. Those fiends in the eastern wastelands who could no longer survive would go to the chaotic astral ocean, and no one would be able to find them. The chaotic astral ocean's pirates are even fiercer than the fiercest ones. They specifically kill passing merchant teams and seize their cultivation resources. Their methods are extremely ruthless and they leave no survivors. There were even some pirates who cultivated evil cultivation techniques that required slaughter, blood, and even the souls of warriors to cultivate. Everyone, we're from the Flame Chamber of Commerce. I hope you can give us some face. I understand the rules. I'll give you 1 million supreme spiritual crystals in exchange for us leaving. How about it? Luo Xian flew out and wanted to discuss with the other party. The Flame Chamber of Commerce is considered a huge chamber of commerce in the chaotic astral ocean. It is quite powerful and famous. Some pirates will give some face to it when they hear about it. Unfortunately, Luo Xian was wrong. From the other side, a burly man with a knife scar on his face flew out. His eyes scanned Luo Xian's curvaceous body with a fiery gaze and sneered, "Do you think you can dismiss us with just 1 million supreme spiritual crystals? Do you think we are beggars? How about this, you can keep half of all the goods you have this time. Also, you can serve me for a night. If I'm satisfied with your service, I can consider letting you leave." After saying that, the knife-scarred man licked his lips, and his eyes were full of lust. Luo Xian's face turned pale. You're dreaming. Don't think that you can defeat us. You only have 1,000 people, and we have more people than you. If we really fight, it's not certain who will win. Chen Zhao shouted, his anger soaring. Ha ha ha, so what if you have more people than us? In my eyes, they're all sheep waiting to be slaughtered. Kid, let me tell you, our blood fiend pirates never rely on numbers to win. The knife-scarred man laughed contemptuously. What? You're from the blood fiend pirates? Luo Xian, Chen Zhao, and countless people at the scene had a drastic change in their expressions. Their faces were filled with fear. It seemed that the blood fiend pirates were very famous. Hee, looks like you've heard of the blood fiend pirates before. You should know that we've always been ruthless. Today, I'm in a good mood, so I'll let you go. As long as you serve me well and leave me half of your goods, I'll let you go. The knife-scarred man sneered. Chen Zhao's expression kept changing, but he did not continue speaking. Don't even think about it, miss. I'll do my best to escort you out later. You can't trust the blood fiend pirates. Even if we agree to their conditions, they'll go back on their word. An old man walked out from behind Luo Xian, exuding a powerful aura. This elder was a peak-tier king. Old man, you want to send her out by yourself? Stop dreaming. The man with the knife scar sneered, and a powerful aura spread out from his body. Peak-tier king. This burly man was actually a peak-tier king as well. Not only that, but another powerful aura also rose up behind the knife-scarred burly man. He was also a peak-tier king. The blood fiend pirates had sent out 2 peak-tier kings. Everyone's heart sank. There was only one peak-tier king in the flame caravan, and he usually didn't attack just in case. Chapter 645. 645 Let me practice some boxing. The knife-scarred man was shocked. He didn't even see how the two people appeared. These two people were naturally Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. The scar-faced man heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's age. How much of a threat could two young men in their 20s pose? It seemed like he had been too careless earlier and had not noticed them. It's them. Luo Xan, Qin Zhao, and the rest also saw Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. What are the two of them doing here? Are you looking to die? Qin Zhao couldn't help but ask. Young Master Lu, in this situation, the Flame Chamber of Commerce can't even protect them slaviers. They can't protect you either. You'd better run for your lives. If you're lucky, you might be able to escape. Hurry. Luo Xian's character wasn't bad. At this time, she could still think of others. Leave, not a single one of them can leave. Ha, there's actually such a beauty in the world. What luck. At this moment, the scar-faced man's eyes were fixed on Xian Yanqing's body, burning with fire. Fifth brother, the previous one is yours, this girl is mine. The skinny man's eyes were similar. He stared at Xian Yanqing, his eyeballs almost falling out. It was too beautiful, too beautiful. Luo Xian was considered a pretty beauty, but compared to Xian Yanqing, she was nothing. They kept sighing and rejoicing. Their luck today was too good. Luo Xian sighed. It's over. Xian Yanqing is so beautiful. Now that he's been targeted by two peak-tier kings of the Blood Fiend pirates, how can he escape? Xian Yanqing's brows furrowed, his eyes filled with killing intent. All of you will die. Xian Yanqing's cold voice startled everyone. Xian Yanqing actually wanted to kill two peak-tier pirate kings. What a joke. Little Qing, leave these two guys to me. I'm looking for someone to practice my fist arts with. You go help the others. Lu Ming said to Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing's cold eyes swept across the knife-scarred man, the skinny man. All right, I'll leave them to you. Don't kill them easily, I'll do it. All right. Lu Ming nodded. The others were dumbfounded. What were Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing doing? Could it be that in their hearts, the knife-scarred man and the skinny man were trash that could be killed at will? These were two peak-tier king tiers. A newborn calf was really not afraid of a tiger. Senior, you go help the others. Leave these two to me. Lu Ming strode forward and said to the peak-tier king from the Flame Chamber of Commerce. This. The old man was also a little stunned. Brat, you're trying to be a hero on my head. It's your mistake. Die. The scar-faced man shouted coldly and slashed his saber at Lu Ming. The blood-red saber ray whistled through the air and slashed at Lu Ming's head. The power was stronger than before. Be careful. Luo Xian subconsciously exclaimed. I'll use you guys as practice. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile as he threw a punch. The space trembled with the exploding star fist. A fiery red fist light shot toward the saber light of the knife-scarred man like a meteor. Wherever the fist radiance passed, the air was directly turned into liquid due to its ferocity. The liquid wrapped around the fist radiance and collided with the saber radiance. Boom! With a deafening sound, the knife light of the knife-scarred man was directly shattered and disappeared without a trace. Not only that, but the remaining fist light also hit the knife-scarred man and forced him to retreat. This. Luo Xian, Qin Zhao, and the others' eyes almost popped out, and their mouths were wide open as they stared blankly. Lu Ming had actually destroyed the saber flare of the burly man on the bus, who had been extremely arrogant just now, with one punch and forced him to retreat. How could Lu Ming's combat strength be so terrifying? Expert, this was a top expert. The scar-faced man's expression changed drastically as well. He had never expected Lu Ming to have such powerful combat strength. Come over here. At this moment, Lu Ming threw a punch. A dazzling fist radiance pierced through the void and headed toward the thin bamboo pole. The skinny man wanted to stop Xian Yanqing, but Lu Ming quickly pulled him over. It wasn't easy to find a few training targets. It would be a pity if Xian Yanqing killed him in one move. The explosive fist radiance created a huge pressure on the skinny man. He could only block it with all his strength. Boom! The fist radiance exploded, and the thin bamboo pole was blown away for 1,000 meters. Let's join forces and kill this little bastard. The knife-scarred man roared. All right. Buzz! Buzz! The skinny man and the knife-scarred man joined forces. Both of them unleashed their full strength and charged toward Lu Ming. Good! Lu Ming threw 2 punches in a row. The fist radiance burst out, tearing through the void 1,000 meters away and blasting toward the two of them. With 2 loud bangs, the two of them were sent flying by the fist radiance. Whoosh! Whoosh! Immediately after, 2 more fist lights pierced through the void and headed toward the two of them. The fist energies seemed to be endless. The knife-scarred man and the skinny man were completely suppressed and were at a disadvantage. This was the result of Lu Ming suppressing his quintessential essence and his explosive star fist. Otherwise, he would have been killed by Lu Ming. Sky Devil Force Field. On the other side, Xian Yanqing's voice was heard. She pressed her hand down and a terrifying Sky Demon Force Field covered 1,000 meters. All the Blood Fiend pirates, regardless of whether they were late-stage kings or ordinary kings, were cut into pieces and died. Luo Xian and the others were dumbfounded. Geniuses! I didn't expect that we would have 2 peerless geniuses in our team this time. We're so lucky. The elder at the peak of the king's realm sighed, his face filled with joy. Yeah, I really didn't expect this. Luo Xian also sighed. As for Qin Zhao, he felt his face burning. He thought of what had happened 2 days ago. At that time, he had pointed at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing, saying that they were afraid of death and that their cultivation levels were low, so they did not dare to attack. Now that he thought about it, every word he said was like a pair of slaps on his face. Lu Ming was right. They did not make a move. Under such circumstances, there was no need for them to make a move. When there was a need, they would naturally make a move. However, he was mocking Lu Ming. Damn it, you made me lose face. Isn't it just a peak-tier king? My big brother is much stronger than them. Qin Zhao felt rather upset. He felt that Lu Ming had embarrassed him. Let's attack together and kill these blood fiend pirates. The old man's figure flashed as he charged towards the blood fiend pirates. With the help of the old man and Xian Yanqing, the blood fiend pirates were killed in large numbers. Especially Xian Yanqing, once the Sky Demon Force Field was released, a large group of pirates were enveloped and had no way to escape. The more the blood fiend pirates fought, the more frightened they became. The fiendish chi from before had already subsided, and what was left was fear. Retreat, retreat. The enemy has too many peak-tier kings. Some of the blood fiend pirates shouted. They had already lost their fighting spirit. The moment their fighting spirit disappeared, their combat strength became weaker, and more people were killed. The Flame Chamber of Commerce had the upper hand. Chapter 646. 646 Large amount of blood essence. Kill. Many people of the Flame Chamber of Commerce shouted. Their eyes were red from killing. They had thought that they would die today, but the situation had suddenly reversed, and the morale was high. In just a few minutes, a few hundred blood fiend pirates had been killed. Finally, the blood fiend pirates collapsed and retreated. Xian Yanqing and the others chased after him madly, leaving behind a large number of corpses along the way. Of the 1,000 blood fiend pirates, at least 800 were killed. Only 100 or 200 managed to escape. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming's fist force was like a rainbow. The terrifying and powerful fist force cut through the void like a meteor, constantly blasting towards the knife-scarred man and the thin bamboo pole. It was as if there was no end to it. The knife-scarred man and the skinny man were already trembling, and blood was flowing out of their mouths and noses. Their internal organs had been injured by Lu Ming's fist force. Satisfying, satisfying. Lu Ming felt that the circulation of the explosive star fist was becoming smoother and smoother. It was much more comfortable than when he had comprehended it by himself. Lu Ming could feel that the level of the explosive star fist was approaching the third level. The cultivation of martial techniques still required a great battle. The knife-scarred man and the skinny man watched as their men were either killed or escaped. The others, such as Xian Yanqing and the old man from the Flame Chamber of Commerce, rushed back. Their hearts sank. They knew that they were most likely doomed today. Damn it! Even if I die today, I won't let you have a good time. Let's die together. The knife-scarred man roared with a murderous aura. In the chaotic astral ocean, they were used to seeing life and death, and often walked on the edge of life and death. At this moment, their ferocity was aroused. With loud roars, the chi on their bodies suddenly became violent. Let's die together. The aura on the skinny man's body also became violent. Not good, they're going to self-destruct. The old man from the Flame Chamber of Commerce exclaimed. Quickly retreat, quickly retreat. Chen Zhao and the others, who were watching the battle from all directions, shouted in horror. The self-destruction of a peak-tier king was extremely terrifying, and everything within 100 miles would be affected. You want to self-destruct? Did I allow it? Lu Ming's eyes turned cold and his essential core exploded wildly. Lu Ming's essential core was extremely strong now. Once it exploded, the two fist forces immediately became incomparably terrifying. They instantly shattered the void and bombarded the knife-scarred man and the thin bamboo pole. Before the two of them could self-destruct, they were directly torn to pieces by the terrifying power. They didn't even have the time to let out a blood-curdling scream. Buzz! Lu Ming's body moved and he flashed past them. He devoured their blood essence and kept their storage rings. Of course, Lu Ming's devouring of the blood essence was done very discreetly. The devouring power was used on his palm and the blood essence was absorbed. Then, Lu Ming's figure flashed past the corpses and he devoured all the blood essence. There were nearly 800 people, and 200 to 300 of them were martial kings. This blood essence was too rich, how could he miss it? Luo Xen, Chen Zhao, and the rest were dumbfounded. 2 peak-tier kings were killed by Lu Ming just like that. After a long while, a deafening cheer erupted. Most of the people were cheering, especially the people from the Flame Chamber of Commerce. They often visited the chaotic astral ocean and naturally knew of the blood fiend pirates' reputation. They had originally thought that they would be doomed this time. However, they didn't expect that Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were so unimaginably powerful. They were actually 2 young peak king warriors who could easily crush their opponents. Having escaped death, they naturally cheered, were happy, and excited. I've heard that many young geniuses have entered the chaotic astral ocean to train. Some of them are even peerless geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents. Could it be that these 2 are the geniuses on the list? I don't know. I don't know what his name is. In my opinion, even if he's not on the list of top 1,000 talents, he's close to that level. Waves of discussion could be heard from the surroundings. Young Master Lu, Miss Xia, thank you for your help this time. Luo Xian is extremely grateful. Luo Xian walked to Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and bowed. Miss Luo Xian, you don't have to be so polite. I'll still say the same thing. If there's a need for this Lu to take action, this Lu will definitely take action. Lu Ming smiled faintly. If we don't make a move, someone is probably going to drive us away. Xian Yanqing snorted and glanced at Chen Zhao, who was standing not far away. Of course, Chen Zhao also heard this. What's there to be proud of? Wasn't he just a peak-tier king? It had taken him so long to kill 2 pirates, and their names weren't on the list of top 1,000 talents. What was he so proud of? If my big brother wasn't over 30 years old, he would have been on the list of top 1,000 talents. Chen Zhao gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. All right, let's rest. Lu Ming strode towards a stone house. The others also began to clean up the battlefield. He walked into the stone house, but there was no one there. It was obvious that the people on this island had all been killed by the blood fiend pirates. Lu Ming randomly found a stone house and started to refine the blood essence. The blood essence of 2 peak-tier kings, more than 10 late-tier kings, and hundreds of martial artists of different levels were extremely rich. Lu Ming used all of them to improve his 9-dragon bloodline. Unfortunately, it didn't help the 9-dragon bloodline advance to the 9th level of the king class. In order to advance to the 9th level of the king class, the amount of blood essence required was enormous, and this amount was far from enough. The night passed uneventfully. The next morning, when the 4-winged flying tiger was almost done resting, everyone set off again for Golden Sand Island. Although they ran into some trouble on the way, even a small pirate group, this group didn't even have a peak-tier king and was easily defeated. 5 days later, they finally arrived at Golden Sand Island. The Golden Sand Island is considered relatively large and famous among the many islands in the chaotic astral ocean. It has a circumference of several 100,000 li and is like a continent. There was a lot of golden sand on it, hence the name Golden Sand Island. In the sea area with a radius of tens of millions of miles, Golden Sand Island was a large gathering place. There were many forces here, and at least tens of millions of warriors had gathered here. It could be said that there were many masters. There were even quite a few Sea of Soul realm experts, but they didn't usually show their faces. The 4-winged flying tiger of the Flame Chamber of Commerce landed on a vast golden beach. Young Master Lu, Miss Xia, this must be your first time on the Golden Sand Island, right? The Flame Chamber of Commerce has a large stronghold on the Golden Sand Island. Why don't we go there and have a look? I'll be the host and show you around. Luo Xian walked to Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and smiled. Thank you, Miss Luo Xian, but the 2 of us still have other things to do. We'll chat again next time. Lu Ming declined. Oh, if that's the case, next time then. But young Master Lu, Lady Xia, the chaotic astral ocean is different from the outside world. Here, there is no law or order. If you make a move, there will be a massacre. You 2 must be careful. Luo Xian warned him kindly. Thank you, Miss Luo. Goodbye. After that, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing bade farewell and headed toward the Golden Sand Island. Chapter 647. 647 Blood splattered everywhere. Looking at the 2 of them leaving, Luo Xian sighed and said, what a pity. It would be great if such a genius could be used by the Flame Chamber of Commerce. Young lady, that's impossible. These 2 are so young, but they've already reached the peak king realm. They must be the heirs of some big force. In a few years, they might even be on the list of top 1,000 talents. Their future is limitless. How can our Flame Chamber of Commerce invite such people? The peak-tier king from the Flame Chamber of Commerce walked to the side and said softly. Elder Wu, you think too highly of them. In my opinion, their combat strength is only average. My brother can definitely defeat them easily. They are just lucky to be born in a major power and rely on a large amount of resources to reach their cultivation base. There are many people like them in those major powers, so they will definitely not be able to get on the list of top 1,000 talents. Chen Zhao walked up and sneered. He was still very unhappy with Lu Ming. Luo Xan sighed. Chen Zhao was too narrow-minded, he wouldn't be able to do much. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing rose into the air and flew toward the inland of Golden Sand Island. Soon, a huge city appeared in front of them. The two of them flew toward the city. This city was not guarded by anyone. People came and went, flying here and there, and it was very lively. As Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing approached the city gate, they immediately attracted a lot of attention. Most of these gazes came from the burly men. These people were all burly and strong. They didn't even bother to hide their murderous aura as they stared at Xian Yanqing with fiery eyes. Not only were there middle-aged brawny men, but there were also a few white-haired old men. Their eyes were also burning as they looked at Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing frowned. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and touched his nose. Xian Yanqing's charm was too great. He would attract attention wherever he went. However, Lu Ming could not stop others from watching. If someone wanted to take a step further, Lu Ming's fist would have long been itching. The two of them could not be bothered with the gazes from the surroundings and walked into the city. In the city, the shops formed a forest and it was even more lively. On both sides of the street, there were many stalls selling many strange things. I didn't expect that there would be so many warriors on Golden Sand Island. Lu Ming thought to himself. Moreover, Lu Ming noticed that the quality of the warriors on Golden Sand Island was very high. There were almost no weaklings. Lu Ming took a glance and saw that most of them were at the level of martial kings. Of course, there were also warriors below the rank of martial king, but they were all high-level martial arts grandmasters. The weaker ones did not dare to walk around. It's no wonder. In the entire eastern wilderness, many of those extremely vicious and evil martial artists, or those who practice evil martial arts, come to the chaotic astral ocean. This has led to the chaotic astral ocean having an extremely large number of experts. The number of experts in the chaotic astral ocean far exceeds that of most big regions. Martial kings were everywhere. Kid, what the hell do you mean? I saw this piece of deep-sea cold iron first. What's the meaning of this? Do you want to die? I think you're the one who wants to die. So what if you like her? This piece of deep-sea cold iron, I want it. In front of a stall, two big men in their 40s started quarreling. You're looking for death. With a loud roar, one of the burly men pulled out his saber and slashed at another man. You're the one who's going to die. A long spear appeared in the other man's hand. The long spear turned into a flash of lightning and pierced the throat of the man in front. The man roared and fell to the ground. You're really looking for death. You still want to fight with the old man for the deep-sea cold iron. The man with the long spear put away his spear and took the man's storage ring before looking at the stall owner again. The deep-sea cold iron is mine. The burly man said. All right. The stall owner smiled and handed a piece of metal to the burly man. As for the death of one person, he did not find it strange at all. The people around him were the same. They only took a casual glance and then went back to their own business as if this was a normal thing. Not long after, a few men in black appeared and took the corpse away. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing took a few glances and continued walking. Old thief, you dare to touch my woman? Die! He had only taken a few steps when another loud roar rang out in front of him. A man in his 30s had split an old man in half with an axe. The surrounding people only took a few glances and went back to their own business. Chaotic astral ocean, it's indeed chaotic astral ocean. It's chaotic enough that killing people is a common occurrence. A word of disagreement would cause blood to splatter. Let's find a restaurant and have something to eat. Lu Ming said to Xian Yanqing. The two of them were also used to seeing storms and had experienced countless life and death battles. Naturally, they got used to it very quickly. Xian Yanqing nodded and the two of them walked towards a restaurant. Boom! Just as they arrived at the entrance of the restaurant, the entire restaurant exploded with a loud bang. Broken wood and gravel flew everywhere. Some of the people with lower cultivation were directly injured by the gravel. Lu Ming waved his hand and his quintessential essence burst forth. The front part of the gravel and wood fragments that were shot at them was destroyed. Buzz! Whoosh! Dozens of figures flew out from the 9th floor. Nest, those who curse and drink can't even rest in peace. Which bastard is fighting in the restaurant? Curses were heard. Boom! Two figures shot up into the sky from the dust and began to battle, their powerful auras filling the air. One of them was a brawny man, while the other was old Ou. Both of them were level 9 martial king realm martial artists. Many people immediately shut up. Boom! Boom! The two of them exchanged dozens of moves in the air. In the end, the burly man was stronger and killed old Ou with a single sword strike. Damn it, you dare to go against me, you're looking for death. The burly man cursed. He took the storage ring and was about to leave. Wait a moment. A short and chubby man dressed as a shopkeeper flew up into the sky and said with a smile, "The two of you have destroyed my restaurant. You haven't even paid for it and you want to leave. That's too immoral. Fatty, you still want me to compensate? Hee hee, I think you're tired of living." The burly man glanced at the short and fat shopkeeper and revealed a ferocious smile. "It's just a small business. If you destroy the restaurant, you have to pay." The short and fat shopkeeper said with a smile. "Compensate? Fine, I'll use your head to compensate." The brawny man laughed hideously and slashed his sword at the short and fat manager's throat. The short and fat shopkeeper was still smiling. When the burly man's sword was about to approach him, he struck out his palm. A huge palm condensed and crushed the burly man's sword light, then caught him in his hand. "Peak tier king. Ah! I'll pay. I'll pay." The burly man cried out in fear. However, with a clench of his hand, the burly man's body exploded and a storage ring flew into the short and fat manager's hand. "Wouldn't it have been fine if you had compensated earlier? Sigh, I have to rebuild the restaurant again. What a loss, what a loss." The short and fat manager sighed repeatedly. "It seems like we'll have to change to another restaurant to eat." Lu Ming was somewhat speechless. "This place is quite interesting. What do you think?" Xian Yanqing smiled slightly, revealing two small canine teeth. Chapter 648. 648 Chapter 648 Lone Wolf Adventurer Team. Indeed, this place was very interesting. To the strong, this was heaven, but to the weak, this was hell. They had to live in fear, or else they could be killed at any time. In another restaurant, the waiter respectfully welcomed Lu Ming and his wife with a flattering smile on his face. The waiter wasn't even a martial arts grandmaster. On Golden Sand Island, he was at the bottom of the hierarchy. Anyone could kill him with one finger. Therefore, he lived in fear and trepidation. "My two guests, if you need anything, just tell me." The waiter invited Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing to a table on the 2nd floor and asked them with a smile. "Just give us some wine and food." Lu Ming smiled and ordered some wine and dishes casually. "Please wait for a moment, sir, I'll be right there." The waiter turned around and ran back, but he didn't pay attention and bumped into a big man. The big man's Jinyuan shook, and the waiter's body was pushed back 5 or 6 steps, sitting on the ground. "Kid, don't you have eyes? You dare to hit me, I think you're tired of living." This burly man had only one eye. He wore an eye patch and was staring fiercely at the waiter. The waiter's face instantly turned pale, without a trace of blood. He knelt down in front of the one-eyed man and began to kowtow, shouting, my lord, please spare my life. I didn't do it on purpose. Please spare my life, my lord." The waiter kowtowed loudly. He didn't dare to use his true chi to defend himself, so his forehead started to bleed after a few hits. But he didn't dare to wipe it and continued to kowtow desperately. Spare you? You wish. Since you don't have eyes when you walk, I'll dig out your eyes and make you really not have eyes." The one-eyed man revealed a ferocious smile. The waiter's face was deathly pale and filled with despair. On Golden Sand Island, with his cultivation level, if he were to go blind, only death would await him. "My lord, please spare me just this once." The waiter desperately kowtowed and begged. The one-eyed man remained unmoved, his eyes flashing with an ominous glint. One of his own eyes had been gouged out. Since then, he especially liked to gouge out other people's eyes. That way, he would have the pleasure of revenge. Whoosh! The one-eyed man's 2 fingers stabbed towards the waiter's eye like lightning. This burly man had reached the level of a lower-tier king while the waiter and Wuzong weren't even there. There was a huge gap between them, and it was impossible for them to avoid him. Lu Ming frowned and raised his hand. A wave of essential core swept out and wrapped around Xiao. He pulled her back and dodged the attack of the one-eyed giant eye. The waiter was pulled to the side of their table by Lu Ming. He was still in a state of shock and his entire body was trembling. The one-eyed man looked in Lu Ming's direction with a menacing look in his eyes, especially when he looked at Xian Yanqing. It was a look of pure desire. "Brat, how dare you interfere in my business? You must be tired of living." The one-eyed man smiled hideously and walked toward Lu Ming and the rest. The waiter was terrified. However, Lu Ming did not even look at the one-eyed man. He picked up the glass and took a sip slowly. Ta! Ta! The one-eyed man walked to Lu Ming's table step by step. His voice was filled with killing intent. "Kid, you're lucky today. Our big brother Li has taken a fancy to this little girl. Let her go over and drink with him. Also, destroy your eyes and we'll let this matter go. We'll spare your life." Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He could tell that the man's target was Xian Yanqing. As soon as they went upstairs, the one-eyed man's table was already staring at Xian Yanqing with a fiery gaze. Then, the one-eyed man stood up and walked over. He deliberately stood behind the waiter, causing the waiter to bump into him. Everything was done on purpose by the one-eyed man. He was just looking for a reason to cause trouble. "Get lost." Lu Ming took a sip of wine and coldly spat out the word scram. The one-eyed man's face changed, and his expression became even more ferocious. "Brat, I wanted to spare your life, but you're just looking for death." Whoosh! With that, the one-eyed man's fingers were like swords, piercing toward Lu Ming's eyes. Then, there was a shrill scream. Of course, it was not Lu Ming who shouted, but the one-eyed man. Lu Ming flicked his finger and a spear's gleam flashed, blinding the one-eyed man's other eye. The one-eyed man covered his eye with his palm, blood flowing from his face. He let out a beast-like roar and scream. Kill, kill, little bastard, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill your entire family." The one-eyed man roared and pounced on Lu Ming as if he had gone mad. The next moment, the one-eyed man's body flew out of the window of the restaurant and fell heavily on the street outside the restaurant. His cries stopped abruptly. The one-eyed man was dead. Boom! 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 At a table by the window, 3 burly men suddenly stood up, exuding a powerful and cold aura, causing the temperature in the restaurant to drop sharply, as if it was winter. The one-eyed man was at the same table as these 3 people just now. It's Lone Wind. He's from the Lone Wolf Adventurer team. That kid is in danger. He just killed one of Lone Wind's men. Lone Wind will never let him go. That's for sure. On Golden Sand Island, the Lone Wolf adventurer team is pretty strong. This Lone Wind is used to being a tyrant. The key is his big brother, Lone Wolf. He's a peak-tier king. The people around them were whispering to each other. Most of them were gloating at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. The waiter's face turned even paler when he heard the name Lone Wolf Adventurer Team, and his body trembled. It's over, it's over. Young master, leave quickly, leave quickly. Don't care about me. I'm just a worthless life. Don't lose your life because of me. The waiter said in a trembling voice. Lu Ming smiled faintly. This waiter was quite kind-hearted. He was obviously scared to death, but he still asked Lu Ming and the rest to leave. Don't worry. Lu Ming smiled slightly, his expression calm. Bang! Bang! At this moment, the three burly men had already walked to Lu Ming and the rest. The person in front was in his 30s. His neck was slightly crooked, but his eyes were extremely cold. He stared at Lu Ming and said coldly, "Brat, how dare you kill a member of the Lone Wolf Adventurer team? I'll make your life a living hell today." Then, he turned to look at Xian Yanqing. His eyes scanned Xian Yanqing's body up and down, revealing his lust. "Little girl, draw a clear line with this kid right now, and then come back with me to serve me well. Be my maidservant, and then you can live comfortably on Golden Sand Island. Do you understand? Hurry. Idiot." Lu Ming took another sip of wine and said indifferently. Gu Feng's eyes glowed with ferocity. He looked at Lu Ming and said, "Kid, what did you say? I don't care what kind of force you're from, but when you're in the chaotic astral ocean and on the Golden Sand Island, even if you're a dragon, you'll still have to coil up." Bzzz. Before he could finish his sentence, Gu Feng had already made his move. His claw was aimed at Lu Ming's throat. Gu Feng was a Level 7 Martial King Realm expert. Chapter 649. 649 Chapter 649 Total Annihilation. However, before Gu Feng's claws could reach Lu Ming, he was enveloped by a huge force field. His movements immediately became as slow as a snail. Grumble, I can't even eat a meal in peace. So annoying. Xian Yanqing said coldly. Gu Feng's face revealed a terrified expression. He wanted to turn his head, but with a bang, he turned into a pool of blood mist. Yes, under the terrifying force field, he was turned into a pool of blood. There was nothing left of him except for his storage ring, which was caught by Xian Yanqing. The other people in the restaurant were shocked. Xian Yanqing's methods were truly evil. He didn't even move and turned Gu Feng into a cloud of blood mist. It was simply terrifying and made people's scalps tingle. As for the two burly men with Gu Feng, their faces turned pale, without a trace of blood. You killed Lone Wind, our leader will not let you go. Our leader is a peak king. One of them said in a trembling voice. Oh, so this battle is inevitable? Lu Ming asked. No. Not bad. The burly man replied. Alright, then you guys stand here first and wait for us to finish eating. Lu Ming said indifferently. He picked up his glass and took a sip. Xian Yanqing was the same, but her face was a little cold. The two burly men stood there. They wanted to leave but did not dare to. They could only look at each other and stand there, not knowing what Lu Ming was up to. A few minutes later, Lu Ming finished his meal and stood up. He said to the waiter, "Little brother, you can go." Ah. The waiter was stunned, but he still looked at the two men from Lone Wolf in fear. Don't worry. From now on, there won't be any Lone Wolf adventurer team on Golden Sand Island. Lu Ming smiled faintly. The others were shocked. What did Lu Ming mean? They quickly understood. Lu Ming looked at the two burly men and said, "Lead the way." "What?" The two big men were a little stunned. "Lead the way to your lone wolf adventurer team's lair. Hurry up." Lu Ming's eyes turned cold and murderous intent filled the air. The two burly men shuddered. Lu Ming actually wanted to go to the lone wolf adventurer team's lair. What was he going to do? Destroy the lone wolf adventurer team? Could it be that I've really provoked two fiends that I shouldn't have provoked this time? The two men's hearts turned cold. "If you don't want to die immediately, then hurry up." The killing intent in Lu Ming's eyes grew stronger. The two burly men turned pale and nodded hurriedly. No matter what, they would leave this matter to their regiment commander, Lone Wolf. They prayed in their hearts that Lone Wolf would be able to kill Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. With the two burly men leading the way, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing headed for the Lone Wolf adventurer team's base. "Let's go and take a look. These two young men are actually going to kill their way into the Lone Wolf adventurer team's lair. It's too shocking. They definitely have the right to be so confident. This time, the Lone Wolf adventurer team is likely to have kicked an iron plate. I've heard that recently, many young geniuses from the Eastern Wasteland have entered the chaotic astral ocean to train. It's very likely that these two are those geniuses. It seems that I must keep a low profile when I see young people these days." The rest of the people in the restaurant discussed as they followed Lu Ming and the rest. After the others on the road found out the truth, they also followed. In a short while, there were hundreds of people following behind. There are many adventurer teams in the chaotic astral ocean. These adventurer teams usually enter some dangerous places to take risks and search for treasures. However, most of the adventurer teams mainly worked as guards for the merchant teams and earned money. The Flame Chamber of Commerce had hired an adventurer team before. The base of the Lone Wolf adventurer team was in a mountain 3,000 miles west of the city. "What's going on? Enemy attack." When Lu Ming and the rest arrived, a loud cry was heard from the Lone Wolf adventurer team's lair. Lu Ming turned around and understood. There were hundreds of people behind them. It was no wonder that the Lone Wolf adventurer team was screaming in fear. Buzz! Whoosh! In the next moment, streaks of light flashed in the mountains. More than 100 people appeared in front of Lu Ming and the rest. The leader of the group was a middle-aged man with a gloomy face and a ruthless look in his eyes. Leader, help. The two of them, kill Big Brother Li." The two burly men in front of Lu Ming shouted. The burly man in the lead was the leader of the Lone Wolf adventurer team, Lone Wolf. "What? Second brother is dead?" In an instant, Lone Wolf's eyes turned red. He then looked at Lu Ming with a murderous look and said in an extremely cold voice, "Brat, no matter what the reason is, I'll skin you alive and pull out your tendons after you kill my second brother. Also, I'll reward you to my brothers. They'll take turns serving you. You'll have your fill." Gu Lang looked at Xian Yanqing. As soon as Xian Yanqing said that, everyone in Lone Wolf looked at him with burning eyes. "Oh, I originally wanted to explain to you why I killed your second brother, but it seems that there's no need to now." Lu Ming smiled faintly. The chaotic astral ocean follows the law of survival, the law of the jungle. What bullshit logic is this? It doesn't work here at all. As long as there was strength, there would be reason. Lu Ming understood this point very quickly. Lu Ming flicked his fingers and two spearlights shot out, killing the two burly men who were leading the way. Then, he stepped forward and walked towards Lone Wolf. "Die!" Gu Lang's eyes turned cold. A giant wolf appeared above his head, and a violent and bloodthirsty aura burst out. Buzz! Lone Wolf's legs kicked in the air and his figure immediately turned into a series of afterimages, pouncing toward Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. Lu Ming's expression remained calm. A long spear condensed in his hand. With a wave of his arm, the long spear shot out like a bolt of lightning. The next moment, a shrill scream was heard, and a figure retreated frantically. It was Gu Lang. At this moment, his eyes were filled with disbelief. His chest had been pierced by a long spear. The powerful destructive force had already destroyed his internal organs. One move, just a casual move, and the long spear had pierced through his heart. That spear was too fast and too sharp. He couldn't avoid it at all. Clang! The spear's immense power sent Lone Wolf flying a few thousand meters and nailed him to the cliff of the mountain. Lone Wolf, dead. The people who came to watch were dumbfounded and shocked. Lu Ming's combat strength had exceeded everyone's expectations. He was too powerful. Lone Wolf was completely defenseless in his hands. Who is this person? Could he be a top talent on the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory? I don't know his name. A series of shocked discussions could be heard. On the other hand, the members of the Lone Wolf Adventurer team looked terrified. Their leader, a peak-tier king, had been killed in one move. Run! Immediately, those people turned around and ran. Don't even think about leaving. Xian Yanqing stepped into the air and pressed his palm. The Sky Demon power field exploded, and the 100 or so Lone Wolf adventurers were all enveloped by it. A destructive cutting power was produced, and in the next moment, all 100 or so people were killed. Their corpses fell to the ground like rain. As for the storage rings, they were all taken by Xian Yanqing. Chapter 650. 650 Chapter 650 Life Battle Stage. CSI. Gasps of shock could be heard. The people who were watching the battle widened their eyes in shock. In the chaotic astral ocean, it was normal for people to die all the time. They were shocked by the strength of Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. One of them had killed a peak-tier king with a single move. With a wave of his hand, he had killed hundreds of experts, including many Level 9 Martial King Realm upper-tier King Realm experts. The strength of the two was very shocking. Those who had been coveting Xian Yanqing's beauty at the start felt a chill in their hearts. They were secretly glad that they didn't make a move. Otherwise, they would be the ones who died. Now, they no longer looked at Xian Yanqing with fire and greed in their eyes. There was only fear and dread. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the crowd. He could see everyone's expressions. Lu Ming had a deeper understanding of the word, chaotic astral ocean. Chaotic astral ocean, if you're soft-hearted, then everyone will bully you. However, if one's methods were more ruthless and brutal than others, then everyone would be afraid of him. Lu Ming's figure flickered and he devoured the blood essence of all the members of the Lone Wolf Adventurer team. Let's go. Then, he left with Xian Yanqing. Soon, the two of them returned to the city. The two of them planned to first find an inn to stay in, then buy a map of the chaotic astral ocean. After that, they will find a suitable place to go and train. When the two of them returned to the city, they saw many people flying in one direction. Go to the life battle platform. The King of Hell has made his move again. I heard that his opponent this time is Old Monster Chi-chan. What? The King of Hell and Old Monster Chi-chan are going up against each other. It's been years since Old Monster Chi-chan fought. Let's go and take a look. This battle will definitely be spectacular. One figure after another quickly flew in one direction. Life battle stage. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were both stunned and curious. From the looks of it, it was a battle between two experts. What kind of expert could attract so many people to watch? Let's go and take a look. Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming. I was thinking the same thing. Lu Ming smiled. Then, the two of them followed the crowd and walked forward. Soon, they arrived in front of a huge building. The building was round and huge. When they got close, they heard loud cheers and screams. Could it be that the battle has already begun? We can't be late, right? Let's go in quickly. Many people flew to the entrance of the building. Pay the full bill. 200 best grade spirit crystals per person. At the gate, there were guards who stopped the crowd and shouted. These are my spiritual crystals, take them. Many people paid the spiritual crystals and rushed into the building. However, there were too many people and they had to line up. There are so many people here. It seems that King Yama and old monster Chi-chan are not ordinary. Lu Ming thought in his heart. After a while, it was their turn and they walked in. The interior of the building was circular. In the middle was a huge fighting stage that was several miles long and wide. Around it were circular stands. There were more than 100 levels, and at least a few 100,000 people could sit there. After the two of them walked in, they found that there were at least 100,000 people sitting in the stands. The fighting ring was empty. There was no one there, only a pool of blood. What's going on? Where was he? Wasn't it King Yama fighting against old monster 7 Diana? Why don't I see him? Yeah, where are they? The people who came in after him called out. People? He only came now, where was he? The war has ended. Someone said. What? The war had ended, but what was the result? Who won? Yama won. Yama and old monster Chi-chan fought for 100 moves and in the end, old monster Chi-chan was killed by Yama. Sorry, I'm late. I've wasted 200 supreme spiritual crystals. Let's watch the other duels. Many people who had arrived late sighed and looked for a seat. Young Master Lu, thank you, young lady. Suddenly, Lu Ming heard a delicate cry. Luo Xin. He turned around and saw a young woman walking towards him. It was Luo Xin. Beside Luo Xin, there were two other people. One of them was Qin Zhao, and the other was in his 30s. He had a burly figure and looked similar to Qin Zhao. Miss Luo. Lu Ming revealed a smile. Young Master Lu, Lady Xia, what a coincidence. Are you here to watch the battle on the fated battle platform? Luo Xin said with a smile. That's right, but I seem to have missed it. Lu Ming said. That's right. Hell King is a top-notch expert who has risen recently. He has never lost a battle at the peak tier king level and has won 19 consecutive battles. With this battle, he has already won 20 consecutive battles. As for the 7 Zen Elder, he's lived for almost 800 years and has cultivated for so many years. His battle power is also extremely terrifying, and he's almost unparalleled among peak-tier kings. He also won 19 consecutive victories on the life battle platform, and many people are looking forward to their battle. I didn't expect that this battle would come so suddenly. It's a pity that we missed it. Luo Xin said, also showing a trace of pity. A battle between peak-tier kings, 19 consecutive wins. Lu Ming also revealed an interested look. Young Master Lu, Lady Xia, there should be other battles coming up. Let's find a place to sit down. Luo Xin said. Then, they found an empty space and sat down. On the side, Qin Zhao's face was gloomy and he didn't say anything. Buzz. At this moment, a figure rushed into the fighting ring. It was a bald old man, and the aura of a Level 7 Martial King Realm expert was fully revealed. Who wants to fight me? The old man shouted. I'm here to kill you. A bald man rushed up to the stage, also revealing his Level 7 Martial King Realm cultivation. Ha, really? Your storage ring is mine. The old man sneered. I should be the one saying that. I've taken a fancy to your storage ring. The bald man also sneered. A saber appeared in his hand and he charged at the bald old man. The bald old man took out an iron rod and welcomed the attack. Boom! Boom! The two of them were engaged in an intense battle. However, after a few dozen moves, the bald old man had the upper hand. Ha, die. The bald old man laughed as he swung his iron rod at the bald man like a storm. The bald burly man kept retreating. After more than 10 moves, the bald old man hit the bald burly man's chest with his stick. The bald burly man screamed in pain, and a series of bone-cracking sounds came from his body. He was sent flying back and fell on the fighting ring, blood spurting out of his mouth. I admit defeat, I admit defeat. The bald man roared. Admit defeat? It's too late to admit defeat now, die. The bald man roared and flew up. The iron rod smashed on the bald man's head, and the bald man's brain instantly burst open, dying on the spot. Ha, the storage ring is mine. The bald old man put away the bald man's storage ring and laughed. Chapter 652. 652 Chapter 652 Qin Dao. However, after more than 20 moves, the white-haired elder suddenly exploded and killed the middle-aged man in one fell swoop, snatching his storage ring. He's so powerful. Is this old man the spiritual turtle master of Golden Turtle Island? That's him. I didn't expect him to be on Golden Sand Island. No wonder he's so strong. Master Spiritual Turtle has been in closed-door cultivation for many years. His combat strength is unfathomable. I wonder who will challenge him next. Waves of discussions could be heard in the surroundings. This spiritual turtle sage is not bad. Lu Ming nodded. He could tell that the spiritual turtle lord's sudden burst of power was a secret technique that could increase his battle power, which was quite good for peak-tier kings. Not bad. Hee, what big words, you sound like you're very strong. On the side, Chen Zhao showed a contemptuous smile. Lu Ming was speechless. Was this guy crazy? Wasn't it just that he did not take action that time? After that, she targeted him in every way. Lu Ming ignored such a narrow-minded person and did not even look at Chen Zhao. Seeing that Lu Ming had ignored him, Chen Zhao's expression turned even uglier. Who wants to fight me? Master Spiritual Turtle looked around, and for a moment, no one spoke. Hee, it seems like no one is going to fight. Master Spiritual Turtle sneered. I'll do it. At this moment, Chen Zhao's elder brother stood up beside him, and a powerful aura emanated from him. Chen Zhao's big brother was called Qin Dao. Qin Dao took a step forward and appeared on the life battle platform. It's Qin Dao. Qin Dao is going to fight. It's going to be interesting. Qin Dao has won 7 times in a row. He's extremely powerful and is one of the generals of the Flame Chamber of Commerce. If he fights Master Spiritual Turtle, haha, it must be intense. Qin Dao's appearance made many people excited. Big brother has made his move. Qin Zhao's eyes lit up. He then looked at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, let's wait and see. Let's see how strong my big brother is. Let's see how strong a peak-tier king can be. However, he realized that Lu Ming had ignored him again. This made him rather depressed. Young man, you have guts. You dare to challenge me? Master Spiritual Turtle looked at Qin Dao and said coldly. Are you going to fight or surrender? Qin Dao's reply was simple but full of confidence. What big words. I've been in seclusion for decades. The youngsters nowadays are getting more and more arrogant. Let me teach you how to respect your elders. Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, he rushed toward Qin Dao as fast as lightning. At the same time, a powerful aura burst out of his body. It was that kind of secret technique. Although the spiritual turtle was arrogant and confident, it used its full strength when it attacked. It did not dare to underestimate its opponent. Knowing his reputation and still daring to challenge him, how could he be a weakling? He had lived for hundreds of years, and he was very clear about this. A powerful fist force was sent towards Qin Dao. However, Qin Dao didn't move at all. When the fist force of the spiritual turtle sage approached, his eyes suddenly lit up. He moved. When he moved, it meant that he had drawn his saber. A bright blade light lit up, as if it had cut the space in half. Lord Spiritual Turtle's fist force was also split in half. He was shocked and retreated frantically to avoid the blade. But Qin Dao's attack had just begun. Kill! Die! Qin Dao shouted with astonishing momentum. The pale saber light lit up again, stronger and sharper than the previous one. It instantly broke through the void and slashed toward Master Spiritual Turtle. Not good. Lord Spiritual Turtle was shocked. He waved his fists and a thick turtle shell formed in front of him. Clang! The blade light hit the turtle shell, causing it to shake violently and crack. Before Lord Spirit Turtle could even take a breath, Qin Dao had already made the third strike, followed by the fourth, and the fifth. Saber after saber, each stronger than the last, slashed at Lord Spiritual Turtle without end. When he made the seventh cut, his turtle shell exploded and the saber light flashed. Immediately, Qin Dao retracted his blade. Lord Spiritual Turtle's eyes widened. A line of blood appeared between his eyebrows and extended downward. Plop! Lord Spiritual Turtle fell down and was cut in half. Master Spiritual Turtle was dead. Deafening cheers came from the crowd. Qin Dao had killed the Spiritual Turtle Sage and advanced to 8 consecutive wins. It was rare to see someone win 8 matches in a row. This meant that 8 peak-tier kings had died at Qin Dao's hands. Hee, did you see that? This is my big brother's strength. Qin Zhao glanced at Lu Ming smugly. Not bad. Lu Ming said calmly. He did think that Qin Dao was not bad. Qin Dao's battle power was probably close to the Holy Star. Of course, Qin Dao was already over 30 years old, which was 10 years older than Sacred Constellation. He had spent 10 more years on martial techniques, intent, and physical body. In terms of potential, he could not be compared to Sacred Constellation. The list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory selected young people under 30 years old. It not only looked at cultivation, but also talent, ability to fight above one's level, and potential. Some powerful forces had abundant resources and could produce a group of young peak-tier king tiers, but these people couldn't make it to the list of top 1,000 talents. You're really boasting. How many peak-tier kings can match my big brother's battle power? Qin Zhao sneered. Frog in the well. It was Xian Yanqing who spoke. You. What did he say? Qin Zhao's face turned red. Someone is going up to challenge him. Lu Ming ignored Qin Zhao and looked at the fighting ring. Qin Zhao also looked over. A young man in a blood-red robe stepped onto the fighting ring. This young man was about 26 or 27 years old. He had a cold expression and a faint sneer hung on the corner of his mouth. He really doesn't know his own strength. He dares to challenge my big brother. He's just courting death. Qin Zhao laughed sarcastically. However, Qin Dao, who was on the fighting ring, looked serious. The other party was just standing there casually, but he made him feel as if he was facing a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. He was under great pressure. Furthermore, the other party was so young, not even 30 years old, yet he dared to step onto the stage. He was definitely not simple. How should I address you? Qin Dao asked. Blood Gang. The young man's face darkened. Shuigang. Qin Dao muttered to himself for a while and then let out a sigh of relief. He had thought that his opponent might be a top talent on the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory. If he really was on the list, he would have to consider whether to fight or not. However, Gang Shui's name wasn't on the list of top 1,000 talents. Obviously, he wasn't a sovereign on the list. Fight or surrender? Shui Gang's gloomy voice sounded. Fight. Chen Dao replied firmly. Hee, good, I was really afraid that you would surrender. Shui Gang licked his lips, and his expression became even colder. Boom. In the next moment, blood chi shot up into the sky from Shui Gang's body. A huge blood-red palm floated above his head with 7 Asilavira chakras revolvering around it. King level 7th rank bloodline. Chen Dao's face changed. Those with second bloodlines who could reach the 7th level of the king level were absolute geniuses. For example, Qin Qingshan and the Holy Star were both 7th level kings. A battle blade was floating above Chen Dao's head. It was only a 6th level king class bloodline. Chapter 653. 653 Bloodline Martial Skill. Blood Flame Palm. Shui Gang's palm shot out, and the air exploded, even turning into liquid. A blood-colored palm print shot towards Chen Dao. Buzz! Chen Dao attacked with his blade, and the blade light was extremely dazzling. But this time, Chen Dao's blade light didn't split the blood palm print. Instead, the blade light was dispersed by the blood palm. Chen Dao's face changed and he roared. The second slash was even stronger than the first. However, Shui Gang's blood-colored palm prints arrived again. One after another, they were extremely overbearing. Chen Dao continued to attack, the 6th, the 7th. Soon, it was his 7th saber move. Before, he had killed the spiritual turtle sage with the 7th saber move, but now, he was still at a disadvantage. Chen Dao roared and slashed out the 8th and 9th blade. The blade light was resplendent as it split the palm print, but there were countless palm prints that followed, one after another. After the 9th slash, Chen Dao's body retreated rapidly. Bloodline Martial Skill, that is a heaven-level upper-class bloodline martial skill. Chen Dao is going to lose. A white-haired old man in the stands exclaimed. What? He has learned a bloodline martial technique. Many people were shocked. Bloodline martial technique? Lu Ming muttered. The so-called bloodline martial technique was the martial technique that a martial artist comprehended from his own bloodline. The bloodline of a martial artist contained endless wealth. It was not as simple as a pure bloodline explosion. The martial skills that a warrior comprehended from his or her own bloodline were the ones that truly belonged to him or her. They were the most compatible with him or her, and when he or she cultivated them, they would be extremely powerful. After all, the martial skills of others belonged to others. How could they be compared with their own bloodline martial skills? For example, if two warriors both cultivated to the 6th level of the heaven grade superior class martial technique, but one of them cultivated a bloodline martial technique that was comprehended from his own bloodline, then the power would be at least 50% or even 100% stronger than the other's martial technique. The difference was too great. However, it was too difficult to comprehend bloodline martial techniques from one's own bloodline. It required a unique talent. Moreover, the higher the bloodline level, the stronger the bloodline martial technique might be. From one's bloodline, one could not only comprehend martial skills, but also secret skills, which were called bloodline secret skills. For example, Qin Qingshan and Saint Constellation, whom Lu Ming had met before, had both comprehended the secret bloodline technique. On the other hand, Xian Yanqing's palm would form a beautiful arm that would attack his opponent. That was the bloodline martial skill. However, Lu Ming had yet to comprehend the bloodline martial arts technique. First, the bloodline of the 9 dragons was not his own bloodline, but awakened by a drop of 9 dragon blood essence. It was very difficult to comprehend bloodline martial techniques from it. In fact, the devouring power could be regarded as a special bloodline secret skill of the 9 dragons bloodline. As for the second bloodline, it had always been shrouded in fog. Lu Ming could not comprehend it even if he wanted to. The bloodline martial techniques that special bloodlines could comprehend were even more powerful. This was especially true for natural-type bloodlines. For example, the fire bloodline was a fire-type martial technique that he had comprehended, and it just so happened to be able to complement his fire concept, making it even more powerful. In this aspect, it was something that other demonic beast bloodlines couldn't compare to. On the other hand, Gang Shui had comprehended the concept of blood. When combined with blood-related martial skills, his power was extremely powerful. Die. Shui Gang took a big step forward and his blood concept spread out, enveloping Qin Dao. Qin Dao even had a feeling that the blood in his body was slowly drying up. The mentality of blood was a special kind of mentality. It was extremely powerful and overbearing. If one was hit by Shui Gang's move that was combined with the mentality of blood, it could directly devour the opponent's blood, causing the opponent's blood to dry up and die. Break. Qin Dao's blade light slashed out again, but it was useless. It was completely suppressed. Big brother, how could this be? How did this happen? Qin Zhao's face was deathly pale, and he was extremely worried. His elder brother was his backer. In fact, he was just a guard of the Flame Chamber of Commerce. It was because of his elder brother that he had a special position in the Flame Chamber of Commerce. He could get close to Luo Xian and even pursue her. If his big brother died, he, an ordinary 7th-level martial king, would be nothing in a place like the chaotic astral ocean. He would only be an ordinary guard in the Flame Chamber of Commerce. His big brother was his everything. Now, his big brother was in danger. Brother Qin Dao. Luo Xian's hands were also tightly clenched, extremely nervous. Qin Dao was a general of the Flame Chamber of Commerce. He could even be said to be the strongest expert. If Qin Dao died, the Flame Chamber of Commerce would suffer a great loss. What do we do? What do we do? Luo Xian was extremely anxious. Boom. Boom. Shui Gang's attacks were getting stronger and stronger, and Qin Dao was already tired of dealing with them. I admit defeat, I admit defeat. Qin Dao shouted. Admit defeat? I won't allow it. Shui Gang sneered. Don't think that you're the one who killed me. Seeing that he had no choice but to admit defeat, Qin Dao let out a long howl. His messy hair fluttered in the wind, and the aura on his body actually increased by a small amount. He became one with his blade, turning into a bright blade light that shot up into the sky. Qin Dao planned to escape. It's not that easy to escape. Shui Gang turned into a bloody light and chased after him, throwing out a palm. Bang! Qin Dao was hit by the palm and coughed up blood, but he couldn't care about his injury anymore. He ran for his life and flew to the stands. Blood Gang gave chase. I'll give you 2 million supreme spiritual crystals if you let me go. Otherwise, you might not be able to kill me if I try to escape. Qin Dao roared and started to beg for mercy. He turned into a blade light and fled in all directions. Gutless rat. 5 million supreme spiritual crystals, not a single one less. Shui Gang roared. 5 million it is. His life was more important, so Qin Dao threw a storage ring to Gang Shui. Blood just caught it, scanned it with his mind, and then stopped chasing. You're lucky, but you're really boring. Shui Gang didn't pursue him. He returned to the fighting ring. Qin Dao turned into a blade light and flew back to the stands. He grabbed a pill and swallowed it. He started to heal himself. Luo Xian and Qin Zhao heaved a sigh of relief when they finally survived. Even though the process was embarrassing. There's always a higher mountain. Lu Ming said softly. Qin Zhao's face and ears turned red. Lu Ming's words were obviously meant for him. My big brother won 8 consecutive victories. It's nothing strange for him to meet someone stronger. If you go up there, I'm afraid you'll die in less than 2 rounds. Chen Zhao was still stubborn. Is that so? Lu Ming smiled and said to Xian Yanqing, let's go. Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming in surprise. Then, he followed Lu Ming out. Humph, cowards don't dare to fight in the end. Chen Zhao mocked. Buzz. Lu Ming suddenly turned around and threw a slap. Pa! A slap landed directly on Chen Zhao's face. Blood and teeth flew everywhere, and one side of Chen Zhao's face instantly bulged. He was stunned and looked at Lu Ming in a daze. After a while, he came to his senses and roared hysterically, You dare to hit me? I'm going to ask my big brother to kill you, to kill you. Chapter 654. 654 Lu Ming takes action. Pa! Lu Ming turned his hand and gave Chen Zhao another slap on the other side of his face. Lu Ming controlled his strength very well and did not send Chen Zhao flying. Immediately, the other side of his face also swelled up. If you continue to talk nonsense, do you believe that I will kill you and your big brother right now? Lu Ming said coldly. Chen Zhao immediately shut up. His elder brother was recuperating now. If Lu Ming really wanted to kill him, the two of them would be finished. Luo Xan did not say anything either. She also felt that Chen Zhao had gone too far. He had been targeting Lu Ming all this while. Lu Ming was already considered to have a good temper by not killing him. Lu Ming smiled faintly and turned to leave. Seeing that Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing had disappeared from the grandstand, Chen Zhao's eyes were filled with resentment. He growled, Little bastard, when my big brother's injuries are healed, I'll pay you back 10 times what you did today. Luo Xian secretly shook her head. This kind of trash still wants to pursue her. If it wasn't for Chen Dao's sake, Luo Xian wouldn't even bother with him. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing walked out and strolled along the streets. I thought you were going to fight Shui Gang. Xian Yanqing said. Do you think I'll be goaded into action by that idiot? How was that possible? This is a good place. If I go down and defeat Shui Gang, many people won't dare to go up. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Oh. What are your plans? Xian Yanqing asked. One by one, of course. I can practice my fist technique and earn spiritual crystals at the same time. It's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Lu Ming smiled. His eyes lit up and he walked into a mask shop. I understand. Xian Yanqing smiled and followed him in. After that, Lu Ming bought an Azura mask while Xian Yanqing bought a Yiksha mask. After buying the masks, the two of them bought a set of black robes and put them on. Then, they walked to the fated battle platform and paid 200 supreme spiritual crystals each. Lu Ming put on the Azura mask, while Xian Yanqing wore the Yiksha mask. Shui Gang had already left the fighting ring, so no one would want to challenge him. Who's going first? Lu Ming asked Xian Yanqing in a low voice. Anything is fine. Then I'll go first. With that, Lu Ming moved and appeared on the fighting ring. Another person is going up the stage. What cultivation base is he at this time? Seeing someone go up the stage, the audience's spirits were lifted. They had spent 200 supreme spiritual crystals to watch the battle. If no one fought, then the spiritual crystals would have been wasted. At this moment, Lu Ming's aura spread out, telling everyone that he was a peak-tier king. Another peak-tier king has stepped onto the stage. What's wrong with this person? Blood has just dropped, and he's already coming up. Isn't he afraid that Blood will come back and challenge him? I don't think so. Shui Gang will at least wait for the opponent to fight once or twice before he makes a move. If he's too weak, I don't think he'll make a move. That Shui Gang is definitely a rising genius. He's too strong. If the list of top 1,000 talents is rearranged, he might be able to make it. Sounds of discussion could be heard in the surroundings. Who's going to fight? Lu Ming looked around and said loudly. What? As soon as Lu Ming's voice was heard, Chen Zhao and Luo Xian's expressions changed. Lu Ming did not change his voice. They could tell that it was Lu Ming's voice. That brat is finally going on stage. Hee, wear a mask and play tricks. Let's see how many rounds he can win. Don't die in the first round. Chen Zhao sneered. Luo Xian frowned and ignored Chen Zhao. Instead, she looked at the figure on the fighting ring curiously. She did not know why, but she felt that Lu Ming was not simple. Perhaps, Lu Ming could give everyone a surprise. Luo Xian couldn't help but look forward to it. I'll kill you. An old man with large eyes stepped into the air and stood in front of Lu Ming. Kid, don't think that you can scare people just because you're wearing the Azura mask and imitating the King of Hell. The battle platform still depends on one's true battle strength. Your storage ring is mine. The large-eyed old man laughed savagely. I hope you can withstand a few more moves. Lu Ming said indifferently. Kid, what did you say? The large-eyed old man was slightly taken aback. I told you to stop talking nonsense and take this. I'm going to kill you, Lu Ming said softly. A violent fist force was blasted toward the large-eyed elder. Let's see what you can do. A battle axe appeared in the large-eyed elder's hand and he swung it down, splitting Lu Ming's fist force in half. However, before he could rejoice, the next fist force came attacking him. He could only swing the axe down again. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming's left and right fists were at full strength. Fist radiance burst out continuously like meteors streaking across the void. The large-eyed elder's combat strength was not bad. He was stronger than the peak-tier king of the Blood Fiend pirates. However, he was still completely suppressed by Lu Ming. This was the result of Lu Ming suppressing his essential core. Lu Ming was using him to practice his martial arts. In the past, Lu Ming could still condense a figure that looked exactly like him in the Supreme Shrine to practice martial arts techniques as long as he had spirit crystals. However, as his cultivation level rose to the Martial King realm, that function became useless. It was just an inscription formation set up by the Nine Suns Supreme after he was severely injured. Its power was limited. However, after Lu Ming reached the Martial King realm, the energy in his body was too great, and his attack power was even more terrifying. The formation could not be replicated at all. Therefore, Lu Ming had to find his own opponents to cultivate his martial arts techniques. The large-eyed old man was suppressed by Lu Ming's fist force. He roared in anger. No matter how strong his cultivation was or what powerful martial arts technique he used, he was still suppressed by Lu Ming. I admit defeat, I admit defeat. The large-eyed old man was finally scared and shouted that he admitted defeat. I won't allow it. A faint voice came out of Lu Ming's mouth. Not allowed. Don't think that you can kill me. The big-eyed old man roared in anger and flew up into the sky. He actually tried to escape like Qin Dao. You can't escape. Boom. Lu Ming's essential core had increased and his fist force was more violent. He threw a punch and the air in front of the fist force was completely sucked dry, forming a vacuum tunnel. The violent fist force collided with the battle axe of the large-eyed elder and exploded. The large-eyed old man spat out blood as he roared. His body fell and Lu Ming's follow-up fist force bombarded him again. Bang! Bang! After a few consecutive punches, the large-eyed elder screamed as his body exploded and he died on the spot. Buzz! Lu Ming moved and devoured the large-eyed old man's blood essence, then he kept his storage ring. We won. In the stands, Luo Xin revealed a trace of excitement. He only won one round. That big-eyed old man's battle strength isn't high either. He's far from my big brother. Qin Zhao pouted. You can shut up. On the side, Qin Dao coldly glanced at Qin Zhao and scolded him. Now that his injuries had stabilized, Qin Zhao's expression changed, and he immediately shut up, not daring to say anything more. Who else wants to fight? Lu Ming's voice was heard from the fighting ring. Chapter 655. 655 Killing 3 people in a row. Lu Ming looked around and his voice was clear. I'll do it. A red-haired man stepped on the air and flew onto the fighting ring. As expected, someone has made a move. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. He had suppressed his true qi just now, and it seemed that he was not much stronger than the big-eyed old man. His purpose was to attract others to fight. If his performance was too strong, how would the others dare to go up the stage? Now, the red-haired man was on the stage. What's your name? The red-haired man asked. Shura. Lu Ming replied indifferently. Shura. Hee. Kill. All of a sudden, the red-haired burly man made his move. A flaming saber ray that was 1,000 meters long and incomparably hot slashed at Lu Ming. Exploding star fist. Lu Ming threw a punch. The explosive fist force collided with the other party's saber flare, shaking the fighting ring. Bang! Lu Ming's fist force was actually destroyed. The scorching saber ray continued to slash at Lu Ming. Die! The red-haired man's body was covered in blazing flames, and his face was extremely ferocious. Your combat strength is not bad. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. This red-haired man's battle power was much stronger than the big-eyed old man's. No wonder he dared to go on stage. Then let's add 2 more points. Lu Ming smiled and threw another punch. Boom! This fist force was twice as strong as the previous one. It broke through the red-haired man's saber light and continued to attack him. Ah, you were hiding your strength just now. The red-haired man roared and revealed a look of fear. He burst out with all his strength and madly slashed with his saber. However, the result was the same. Just like the big-eyed elder, he was completely suppressed by Lu Ming. After a few dozen moves, he was killed by Lu Ming with one punch. The exploding star fist is approaching the 3rd level. Lu Ming muttered and put away the storage ring. He also devoured the red-haired hunk's blood essence. After devouring the blood essence of 2 peak-tier kings, the 9-dragon bloodline began to rumble. Refine. Lu Ming stood on the fighting ring and began to refine his blood essence while waiting for other people to challenge him. The surroundings fell silent. For a moment, no one stepped forward. Although Lu Ming had killed 2 people in a row and obtained their storage rings, the others could not figure out Lu Ming's combat strength at the moment. Qin Zhao snorted coldly, his expression ugly. He said that it would be considered good if Lu Ming could win 1 round. However, Lu Ming had already won 2 rounds in a row. This made him very unhappy. 2 minutes. Lu Ming stood in the fighting ring for 2 minutes. He used the power of blood essence in the 9-dragon bloodline to upgrade his 2nd bloodline. The amount of blood essence required for the 9-dragon bloodline to advance to the 9th level of the king class was too much. Lu Ming planned to advance his 2nd bloodline to the 8th level of the king class first before he advanced his 9-dragon bloodline. Buzz! At this moment, a figure rushed up the fighting ring. It was a tall and thin middle-aged man. Everyone's spirits were lifted. Finally, someone else went up the stage. Lu Ming's gaze shifted to the middle-aged man. Azura, your fist force is very powerful, but as long as I don't take it head-on, I'll see what you can do. Before he could finish his sentence, the expert's figure moved and turned into a series of shadows, pouncing toward Lu Ming. As soon as he finished speaking, the tall and thin man had already turned into 18 shadows and surrounded Lu Ming. The sharp sword aura pierced through the air and was aimed at Lu Ming's vital points. 18 shadows and 18 flashes of sword chi were extremely sharp. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming threw a few punches in succession, hitting a few figures. The few figures collapsed and disappeared. Phantom. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. He dodged the sword chi attack and punched out with both fists. One after another, the fist force pierced through the void and landed on the figures. In the blink of an eye, 7 or 8 figures collapsed, but they were all illusions and not corporeal. The remaining figures moved again and continued to pounce on Lu Ming. In the process of pouncing, the number of illusions increased again, and there were 18 of them. Every one of them looked real, and even their auras were exactly the same. Ha! Die! The 18 figures sneered at the same time. Lu Ming's figure dodged continuously, avoiding the attacks. At the same time, he continued to blast out his fist force. The tall, thin man's illusion was constantly being shattered, but after each time it was shattered, it would recover. The two of them were in a state of anxiety, and in the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than 50 moves. It seems that the Shura has met his match. That's right. The Shura's Zhen Yuan is rich, and his fist force is powerful and overbearing. However, his weakness is also obvious. The other party is using an unpredictable movement technique to tie him down, so his fist force is useless. Wearing an Azura mask to imitate the King of Hell is not on the same level after all. The difference is too great. The surrounding audience expressed their opinions one after another. In the process of their discussion, dozens of moves had passed in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Lu Ming felt that his circulation of the exploding star fist was becoming more and more smooth. Boom! Suddenly, he threw a punch, which was much more powerful than before. The tall and thin man was shocked. Ha! I've finally reached the 3rd level of the exploding star fist. It's time to end this battle. Lu Ming smiled in his heart. Boom! Lu Ming stomped on the fighting ring and soared into the sky. He then looked down from high above and blasted out a series of fist forces. In an instant, Lu Ming had thrown dozens of punches. Dozens of fist forces streaked across the sky like dozens of meteors and landed on the fighting ring. And the power of each one was stronger than before. So many. The tall and thin man was shocked. He tried his best to dodge, but there were still illusions that dissipated. 18 became 17, 16. In the blink of an eye, there were only 2 or 3 left. Just as he was about to continue changing his form, dozens of fist forces came crashing down from the sky. No! The tall and thin man roared. In the next moment, he was drowned by dozens of fist forces. The fighting ring let out a violent roar. When the fist force disappeared, the tall and thin man was lying there like a pool of mud, without the slightest breath. Just like before, the blood essence and the storage ring would all belong to Lu Ming. 3 consecutive wins. Lu Ming had already won 3 consecutive wins. Moreover, they won in a row, not in a few days. Many people's winning streak was actually the sum of many days. Just like Chen Dao, he occasionally came to fight and added up his winning streak. It was very difficult to win in a short period of time, because continuous battles consumed a lot of true yuan, and the challengers would only get stronger and stronger. Who's going to fight? Lu Ming continued to look around. Hee, that's enough, that's enough. You've already obtained 3 storage rings. Now, it's my turn to deal with you. A sneer was heard, and a red figure appeared on the fighting ring in a flash. It's Shui Gang. He's going to attack again. Looks like he's been waiting all this time. Now that he's seen Azura win 3 rounds in a row, he's finally making his move. I just don't know if Azura dares to accept the challenge. Shui Gang, he just defeated Qin Dao. Cries of alarm came from all around. Chapter 656. 656 Killing Gang Blood. The person on the stage was Gang Shui, who had defeated Qin Dao. Blood Gang. Qin Dao's eyes flashed. Lu Ming. Luo Xian, on the other hand, showed a trace of worry. Lu Ming, aren't you very powerful? If you have the ability, accept the battle. Don't ever surrender. Qin Zhao's eyes flickered with resentment. He hated Lu Ming to the core. His face was still swollen. He hoped that Lu Ming would accept the challenge. If he did, he would definitely die at Shui Gang's hands. Azura, that's a very domineering name. I just don't know if you have the guts. Shui Gang sneered. Courage? What is courage? Lu Ming smiled faintly. I'm afraid you'll surrender before the battle. Shui Gang licked his lips. Hee, Gang Shui, you don't need to provoke me. You've come at the right time. I can use you to practice my fist techniques. Lu Ming said. Ha, so you're not going to surrender? Ha, good. Shui Gang was overjoyed. Blood Flame Palm. A blood-red palm print shot out from Shui Gang's hand. He could not wait to launch an attack on Lu Ming. In his opinion, Lu Ming now had all the assets of 3 peak-tier kings. Including Lu Ming's own, it would be the assets of 4 peak-tier kings. How much wealth would the 4 peak-tier kings have? If Lu Ming surrendered without a fight, 1 million best-grade spirit crystals would be enough. Wouldn't he suffer a huge loss? At this moment, Shui Gang's heart was burning. The blood-colored palm print shook the space and a bloody smell filled the air. Exploding Star Fist. Lu Ming threw a punch. The fist force collided with Shui Gang's palm print, but it was instantly destroyed by the bloody palm print. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming threw dozens of punches in a row. However, Shui Gang struck a few more times and completely destroyed Lu Ming's fist radiance. Hee, although your fist force is strong and fierce, you are still far from being able to fight me. Shui Gang sneered. This Shui Gang seems to be a new genius. His combat strength is not bad, and he's not weaker than the sacred constellation from a few months ago. Lu Ming thought in his heart. However, Lu Ming was much stronger than he was a few months ago. If Lu Ming were to unleash his full power now, he could kill the sacred constellation from a few months ago in one move. Of course, Lu Ming would not do that. First of all, he had to practice his fist techniques and attract more powerful opponents. Then I'll increase my true essence by another 20%. Circulating his essential core, Lu Ming threw another punch. A vacuum tunnel appeared and it collided with Shui Gang's sanguine flame palm. The fist force and the blood flame palm both disappeared. He's even hiding his strength? Shui Gang's expression changed. Lu Ming's fist force could still be improved. He had a bad feeling about this. The few people earlier were killed by Lu Ming in this way. Kill! Die! Shui Gang roared as his blood meridian exploded. The bloody palm print became even more overbearing as the will of blood enveloped Lu Ming. The bloodline martial technique was a heaven-level upper-class bloodline martial technique. It was extremely powerful. In terms of power, it was even more powerful than Lu Ming's 3 absolutes of the Dragon God. After all, the Dragon God's 3 absolutes was a martial technique that Lu Ming cultivated from someone else. It could not be compared to bloodline martial arts techniques. Shui Gang used all his strength and his power was doubled. His attacks drowned Lu Ming like a storm. It's finally getting interesting. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Boom! In the next moment, raging flames started to burn around his body. It was the fire concept. Of course, Lu Ming had only used one kind of fire concept. He sat cross-legged in the room of the inn. With a thought, Lu Ming appeared in the supreme shrine. After 4 battles, Lu Ming had a new understanding of the explosive star fist. He wanted to use the Path Understanding Ancient Tree to gain some insight. He placed the Path Understanding Ancient Tree on the side. The Path Understanding Ancient Tree was growing better and better. The tender leaf had grown a little more, turned a little green, and was crystal clear. The aura of the great path lingered on it, becoming more and more mysterious. With a wave of his hand, Lu Ming took out a large handful of spiritual herbs, squeezed out the medicinal liquid, and sprinkled it all on the Xianhuang silicotic earth. "Leave some for me." Dandan's eyes turned red with heartache when she saw Lu Ming turning a large pile of spirit herbs into liquid. "I'll give you a few." Lu Ming threw a few spiritual herbs to Dandan, but he sighed in his heart. He was too good at using up resources. His own cultivation consumed a terrifying amount of resources, 10 times more than others. Furthermore, the cultivation of the 10,000 spiritual combat body required a lot of resources. The growth of the Path Understanding Ancient Tree required a large amount of spiritual liquid. If there was no spiritual liquid, he could only replace it with medicinal liquid. Also, if Dandan wanted to recover, she couldn't do without spirit herbs. The speed at which he consumed resources was too terrifying. Ordinary people would definitely not be able to withstand it. It was only because he had killed many enemies during this period of time and obtained a large amount of resources that he could barely bear it. However, as long as these resources could be converted into strength, it was worth it. Lu Ming took a deep breath and cast the distracting thoughts out of his mind. With the help of the Path Understanding Ancient Tree, he began to comprehend the bursting star fist. During this time, he didn't have a chance to use the Path Understanding Ancient Tree. Using the Path Understanding Ancient Tree, his comprehension of the explosive star fist had increased by a large margin. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. The next day, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing went to the life battle platform again. This was a great place, and they didn't want to miss it. It was a pity that no one challenged Lu Ming today. In a fit of anger, he announced on the spot that he would come every day to wait for the challenge of an expert. As for Xian Yanqing, someone who challenged her was not weak, but he was killed by Xian Yanqing. "Your method is not bad. I'll go into seclusion for a few days," Xian Yanqing said to Lu Ming. He seemed to have gained something. Lu Ming returned to the inn and continued to cultivate with the Path Understanding Ancient Tree. The next day, he went to the life battle platform again. Still, no one challenged him. For the next 3 days, Lu Ming went to the life battle platform every day, but no one challenged him. After he returned, he went to the Supreme Shrine to cultivate. For the past 5 days, no one had challenged Lu Ming. However, with the help of the Path Understanding Ancient Tree, Lu Ming's comprehension of the explosive star fist had progressed very quickly. He had already cultivated it to the 4th level, and the power of the explosive star fist had increased again. On the 6th day, someone finally challenged Lu Ming. This person's combat strength was much stronger than Gang Shui's, and he had won 10 consecutive victories on the life battle platform. Clearly, Lu Ming's daily visits had attracted the attention of some experts. Some of them had come to challenge him. Of course, the final result was still Lu Ming's victory. The name of Azura was becoming more and more powerful. Although the Azura had only won 5 consecutive victories, he had already defeated 10 opponents in a row. Moreover, no one knew what Lu Ming's limit was. "Do you guys think that the King of Hell will make a move and challenge the Shura?" Some people hoped so. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.